There we go. Hello and welcome to the random party generator. For a moment there, I looked down at the bottom of the screen. I was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ! What? Oh no,
Yes, it is me, Jesus Christ.
guys, no!" But it isn't. Although there is a religion for the dude, but
There is,
no.
and I am the high priest right now. Especially, I am the high priest. If you know what I
You
mean.
you and Wenger can duel off as high priest of the
Oh, I'm a high,
OFL.
but the dude does not duel. The high priest of the dude just sits and chills on his rug. That's what and he bowls. I can hit him with a bowling ball. I'll beat his ass with a bowling ball, but that's about it. And
All
that
right.
that puzzled look on Rob Conley's face is because I just told him he made a mistake and he's looking furiously to try to prove me wrong. So come on, Rob, did you find it?
I'm focusing on the show live.
Okay.
Liar! Liar! Oh wait a second. Isn't that a quote from the State of the Union address last night? Yeah, liar! Oh no, so that was some other buddy, yelling at
Let's
the.
not discuss that, or we're going to get into an argument.
Oh, we're gonna go down
Oh, we're
major
going
rap battle.
down the tubes in the political realm.
Oh my god. So in any case, oh, we're all still kind of like punchy drunk because.
I'm still drunk, actually, a little stoned too, but yeah.
Well, no, see, I'm still cold sober. I had medical testing today.
Ah,
It was all scheduled, but it's like
mm,
I had that stress test. The stress test where it's like, no treadmill here. We're going to give you an injection.
Jesus,
They're
you're
like,
too old for the
oh,
treadmill. That's when you start like buying them gravestones, Eric. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I would rather the treadmill
Yeah.
than we're going to give you an injection as you're lying in a tube, and all of a sudden you go,
Oh, yeah.
like, oh my god, I'm
Jesus.
hyperventilating. It's like I don't hyperventilate. I guess I
They
am
perfected
now.
that. They perfected that medical technique in Gitmo, upgraded from the
Oh,
German prisons of 8 years ago. Jesus
so
Christ, dude.
well, that was my early morning today. And by the way, as it was an early morning, and I am not an early morning person, but when your doctor's office kind of tells you on the side, 'cause they do all the testing there, they have a great machine. That even other facilities send their patients there
Mm,
because they just upgraded, and they go, always take the first appointment in the day. Because if you take an afternoon appointment, by then it's already backed up.
yeah, it's
People
true.
are late.
Yep,
Even on a good day when the machine has no issues,
yep.
everybody's scheduled for, well, the photo should only take 20 minutes. And it took
Yeah.
23 minutes after, that happened with 10 people. You're already a half an hour
Hmm.
backlog.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I always
Yep,
take the first. So I was
yep.
like, oh,
I don't
God.
blame you.
But, uh,
Mickey is here. The competent man is here. GM
yeah.
at Room Lore.
Well, Bad Mike is not here for you and me. He's only here for the Conley. And I say the Conley.
The-
Uh, V's Wiki. Can I just call you Zwicky? That V in front kind of makes me feel like I'm stuttering.
yeah, is that some sort of like, I don't know, one of those clicking sound symbols like from those African tribes I learned about in anthropology in college? Where they is that what the V stands for?
I Zwicky. Yeah,
It's actually somewhat easier to say when I'm drunk. Zwicky, I could do it when I'm drunk. I don't think I could do that sober as well, though. Yeah, yeah.
so you're telling me I got to hit the line? Yeah.
Yes. John
One of
Miller.
us, one of us has to drive sober. Okay.
Yes, that's Rob. So we're good to go, Eric. And John Miller, Goodman Games Dark Tower came in the mail. I have an unboxing video filmed. I'm going to put it up at some point tomorrow. It's great. It is Janelle's last major project, I believe. Although they are coming out with something. Weren't they coming out with something on the massive, like 11 by 80 pay size books, Eric? Didn't I back that
Me.
on Kickstarter?
What I don't know. Goodman. Listen, I will say this: the coffee table books that Goodman puts out are
Yes.
extremely
They're
high
excellent.
quality. They also generally, my experience, I never read them. I
Mhm.
get them, I put them on a shelf,
Safely high up,
and
right?
I pile other shit on top of them because
Oh,
they're
yeah.
so big.
They're right
And then
behind
I
me on
want
the
to go,
shelf.
oh, hey, I want to read those old Judges Guild. Oh, never mind. I got too much stuff packed on top. Because
At least it keeps them safe.
you can't stand them up on their side like a
No, you
regular
can't.
book because they don't fit in any effing shelf. And the moment you lie them down, then it means you got to stack other things on top of it.
Yep.
Otherwise, it becomes a giant coaster.
That's what I have right now. It's right behind me.
Yeah, I'm not critiquing, actually, I'm critiquing. I'm not criticizing. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna parse words right now.
But it is for collectible purposes. So I mean, we knew what we were in for there.
Oh God, help me!
It's like 900 pounds too. So no bookshelf will take it.
Oh, Zaxxon, yes, you had to do a chemical induced stress test. When Rach had to do it, she actually got a little panic attack and was like, "Let me out!" I was like, I'm just gonna not move. Make sure. With somebody playing records in the background.
I like scratching like a DJ from the fucking late 80s.
Yeah, it was actually,
Rob the DJ here. Yeah, I agree.
I'm the DJ?
Right.
Oh, God, you don't want me as a DJ.
The Fresh Prince come out.
The fresh Conley of the of the city of an individual overlord. John Miller, I completely agree. Those Judges Guild reprints are huge. And I think the last one was 3 volumes, although 1 volume was kind of thin, so it's called 2.5. It was in a nice slipcase, right? So the biggest problem I had with that book, honestly, was where to fit the goddamn book. And so after I did my video, I picked it up and I grabbed it in a slipcase and I brought it into my room here, my geek room, where all my shelves are. And as I'm looking around holding it in the slipcase, I realized I held the wrong end of the slipcase. All 3 books came out on their spine on my fucking right foot. And let me tell you, the fucking books are heavy. All right. I screamed like a bitch, jumped up on one leg, and cursed Goodman and every goddamn thing about his fucking series.
All right,
I realized it was my fault.
Joe, important question.
Yes.
Important question.
Yes, I was sober.
No. And don't be insulted by my lack of concern for your foot.
Yeah.
With the books damaged.
No, they were good. Actually,
Right.
That's the important. I agree. That is the important part.
I think I dropped one of the original Adventure remasters on my foot once, and it wasn't the 3 volumes of Dark Tower, but it was one of the smaller ones, and that's still.
I'm going to run Dark Tower with a group just to take vengeance upon the Dark Tower via my group. So yeah, I'm going to run that fucker. It is struck first blood.
I just got the PDF. I have the original. I have the one by there was the same company who made Traveler 20. They also made a reprint of Dark Tower. And Quick Link Interactive, I think they're called. And then there's the one I helped out with when I did the maps for Goodman Games for D&D 3.5. So it's just how many more of these I need. The PDF will do me just fine.
The problem is that I saw book 1 in the game store one day years ago, and I'm like, oh my God, what? And I grabbed it. And because I grabbed it, I must now buy every book they ever publish. I cannot not have a complete set. It's just not possible.
Okay, you're talking about the original edition, the original Adventures Remastered, then, huh?
Yeah, volume 1. I bought the book, and I'm like, wow, this is great. And I'm like, now I have to keep buying the books. If they until the day I die keep publishing these, I will have to buy them because I am that kind of a weirdo.
Well,
oh man, you don't want to come over to my workshop then, because I'm missing Amber, and it's just going to drive you batshit crazy.
Well, here's the thing, and I've never seen this announcement, but I am fairly sure of this. They no longer have the license with WotC, because if they had the license with WotC, there's still more they could have done.
Wow.
They stopped doing it. They're doing the Judges Guild stuff.
So this is it. This is it. They can't make any more remasters.
Well,
I'm sure they're going to dig up.
They're going to dig up stuff from Judges Guild, but is it worth? I mean, here's the thing with Judges Guild. All right, Judges Guild is literally pulling gems out of coal. There are a number of gems in that bag of coal. Yeah. Most of it is coal. While you have a few Dark Tower City State of the Invincible Overlord style stuff that like you go, holy shit.
You realize, Eric, these are fighting words for Rob. He's contemplating your death right now. Look at that face.
Yeah.
He's ordering the assassons.
No,
you don't mess with Judges Guild.
The majority.
I know that some of the original Judges Guild stuff was crap.
No, the majority of the original Judges Guild stuff is like Dwarven Glory Hole and Scrap Faggot Green.
Whoa.
Oh, I like Dwarven Glory Hole, not just for the sexual connotations.
The title, as we say in the business, is unfortunate.
but I agree. But that was a good module.
The module itself is actually pretty solid.
Well, I've run that 3 times.
And Skulls and Scrap whatever. That adventure wasn't too bad for a tournament dungeon. But if you're in want to see a snapshot of how people were dealing with OD&D, not AD&D, but OD&D.
OD&D, yeah.
That's good because that thing had just about many pages in their house rules as Joe does his
but Rob, that adventure, Eric, I liked it so much the first time I found it. I've run it 3 times. Now, first of all, let me just take a second to mark a moment. Me and Rob are vehemently agreeing on something. All right. Holy shit. We both jumped on your ass at the same time for that one. But this adventure is so good. It's so realistic. It hits I know why me and Rob agree. The verisimilitude of it. It's not a stupid adventure mind. It's a real mind that an adventure is created within.
It's definitely a mind.
It's a mind.
Like a dwarven mind.
And Rob, not only this, I reached out to this guy. I forget his fucking name. The author of that module about 5 or 6 years ago, the first time I read it, I did a deep dive on Google for this motherfucker. He's like not anywhere to be found, right? He was involved, I think I found him because he was involved with something related to what was that after 2011 where they all protested down in that park for like a year in New York City, all over the world.
Cody Park over down in
all that shit. He was somewhat involved in that stuff, right? So I found a link to him via him to somewhere related to that to an email. Then I found him and I tracked him and I emailed him. I said how good his module was. I reached out to the fucking creator who hasn't written anything for D&D in 40 fucking years to say that was a great module. So long story short, I loved it. Yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up.
Yeah, it has excellent mining rules.
Yes, it does. It's so good. It's so good.
So Bad Mike says 20% of Judges Guild is great. 20% is absolute crap.
Yeah.
Sure. There's the Book of Treasure Map 3. There's definitely Under the Storm Giant Cavern. And a lot of it was middling. You know.
He goes 60% is average or below average. And Mike says he owns every Judges Guild adventure.
Wow.
Most of it was read once and then fought away. Now folks don't necessarily know this, but Bad Mike was probably the repository for. We got a chubby.
Oh shit! We got a chubby, and I got to take a leak on that note. I'll be right back.
All right. So Bad Mike at one point had probably more Judges Guild material in the North Texas Bad Mike warehouse than Judges Guild possibly still had in stock. His amount of Judges Guild, I saw it.
You cleared out somebody's warehouse, Mike, or something?
At one point. Yeah, I don't know. He must have.
Oh yeah, dealer stock.
Yeah, he bought a dealer stock out many years ago. 200 boxes of Judges Guild stuff, new and unused. So if you were getting things like, oh my God, what were the crates back then? Because I know there was a 10 Cards Tavern crate for a while. But if there was Judges Guild stuff in it, it came from Mike. I think Mike sold it by the pound. Oh no, that was Pathfinder by the pound. I guess I jest too much. Oh God, Greg, welcome.
Hey,
Greg.
I'm not buying anything by the pound.
Oh man, when
you have to buy dice by the pound once. It's a neat thing to get that in when it finally arrives.
Guarantees one complete set, and everything else is just random stuff. But he sold Pathfinder by the pound and actually had a scale for when Pathfinder 1 was obsolete suddenly, and Frog God Games had so much Pathfinder stuff. We literally sold Pathfinder by the pound, and we would round down at conventions. So just make sure you hit at least a pound. Pound was the minimum. But if you were like 1.8 pounds of game material, you were paying $5. wasn't bad, man.
Yeah, I bought one of those huge bag of dice, and it was just neat. And now, I mean, now I had to buy a new dice box down here. This, if I still played face to face often, and somebody doesn't come with a bunch of dice, I have dice I can just let them borrow and not feel bad.
GM Grimlord, just to let you know, I am a fan of the DCC adventures. I have run them for Swords and Wizardry complete, converting on the fly, which a good GM can do. I think they are great if you're running an episodic campaign where you're not worried about continuity. Just finish the adventure, and then next week, next session, you're on to your next one. Kind of like how we played back in the '80s in my group for the longest time.
Thoroughly agree, Eric. They're good standalones that don't necessarily have to make sense to an entire.
Right.
They're not campaigns.
But the actual adventures themselves are very well written. They've got good plots, good storylines. So there's a link on the bottom of the screen. It is to tankcars-tavern.games/DCC. It'll take you to Humble Bundle. There is a bundle over at Humble Bundle for DCC and MCC rule sets and adventures. I'm going to tell you, this is one of the rare times where you can spend $1 and you're going to get not just the DCC rules, which you can use or not, but you're going to get 2 DCC adventures and I think a coupon. So for $1, it's something that you can just snag and grab. But if you spend $25, it is, I think, 78 or 79 PDFs.
How many adventures are you getting, Eric, out of that? DCC adventures, not the old DCC. What didn't they have this whole line of adventures? Like
they don't. They did. Listen, here's how it worked with the Goodman games. You had Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Yes, that's what it
was. Which was the 3.0 and then the 3.5 line.
Yep.
And then it was Dungeon Crawl Classics with different graphics when they went to 4E for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think around 66 or 67, they went to their own game, Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Okay. So what are we getting with this? Are we getting the shitty 3?
No, you're getting the DCC.
You're getting RPG DCC stuff.
Those are good. Those are very good.
The Crawl Zine, which is awesome.
Oh, I have a few in print of those.
Yeah, Crawl was awesome.
That was a great zine. I got that a long time ago, man. That was an OG OSR zine.
Yep, that was Reverend Dak. And there are some third-party stuff, which I own some of it. The Purple Duck stuff, those guys are very generous. They used to donate a lot of stuff.
Eric, put the link. Could you put the link, Eric, in the chat?
Oh, damn it! You want everything from my factory?
I mean, I'm not the only one getting teased by this shit. You can't just tease me and not, leave me fucking wanting here, dude.
I'm sorry. I listen. It's not time for a reach around yet. Okay.
Well, Rob is ready though. If you see behind Rob, our actual topic for tonight was something we started 2 fucking weeks ago. What is the Gygaxian adventure module? And Rob says, I know exactly what that is. And I could tell Rob was ready to talk for 9.5 hours. So put a pin in it. Let's continue that because it was 10 minutes before we were going to end for the night. And so we figured we'd kick into that tonight. Me and Tim did a show about a week and a half ago about that same topic. And we were just bare bones, covering the broad strokes of the Monday. But
it was vague.
It was vague. It was beautiful. It was poetic. It was Kerouac in style. It was fucking awesome. You pleb.
Yeah, all right. Whatever.
So,
whatever.
Well, he has 3 types of modules. He has your Tomb of Horrors, your elemental.
We're into the topic, boys and girls. Evil, we're in.
Expedition to the Barrier Peak and the Lost Cavern, which are, he puts a lot of tricks, traps, and puzzles. And then he has his more naturalistic modules, like Slice of Life, like the Village of Hamlet.
Look, there's fucking Vanna Rob up there with the fucking pointing to the shit. This is awesome. Please, somebody screenshot. I'm screenshotting that picture right there, motherfucker.
Okay.
All right, continue, Rob.
You can even say that the Giant series was more naturalistic. And then he has his, sandbox, the ones that are more sandboxy, which are the Vault of the Under Earth series here. And of course, Keep on the Borderland.
Oh, Rob came with notes. I love it. All right. So now, Rob, you talked about a whole lot of titles there. What is it that makes, in your opinion, Strap in, folks. What makes a Gygaxian adventure
Strap
module?
on?
Strap on, off, around, whatever you want, man. Strap in. It's on. All right, Rob, what makes a Gygaxian adventure module? Go.
I think it's attention to details with an eye toward. Okay, so we complain about later editions of D&D because they're too much like a game. Okay, well, Gygax didn't make a game, but he makes it like something you have to use your mind with to figure out the puzzles and stuff like that. And I mean, he tries, doesn't always succeed. Like Team of Horror is a real fuck you kind of deal.
Yeah,
And
I never.
it's hard to discover how to get around. It's most of it's just like, God, I hope this doesn't kill me, kind of deal. But the Temple of Elemental Evil is better, and as well as the Expedition to the Barrier Peaks and the Lost Cavern, and the other ones are definitely, I mean, especially Village of Hamlet. I mean, I that was one of my favorite modules in my first batch. I mean, I love the fact that okay, I'll do a reach around here. I love the fact that you open this up, and the very first entry is prosperous farm cottage and large barn. The wooden and plaster house is well kept, and the barn beyond is bulging with hay, grain, etc. Several fat animals are about. A large good wife, rosy-cheeked and friendly, greets all who call, while 4 children look on. I mean that there isn't one thing that's classic Gygax. There's several things, and that's definitely one of them. Thank you, Joe.
So
Thank you, Joe.
I had to mute. Oh, sorry, Rob. I had to do it. Go continue.
Well, if you're going to do that in the future, get a better camera. God, it's so blurry.
That was a screenshot, man. If it works for my porn, it works for your fucking bald ass.
I do not want to be compared to your porn.
Yeah, oh God. I don't want to know about the porn that Joe.
Rob, you're in the same folder.
Well,
Take
thank
a
God.
screenshot of this, Joe.
Well, thank God he didn't pull something else up by mistake. Then we would have been.
I was 50% away from that, dude. Trust me.
Oh God. See, now my problem, and it isn't just with Gygax.
Thank you, Bad Mike.
Leave Rob. Yeah, Bad Mike should be popping in at some point. But my problem isn't necessarily with just Gary alone. It's the fact that the initial adventures that we got from TSR and the initial adventures that we got. Leave Rob alone.
You jerks.
It was so perfect. I didn't even have to adjust the pixel settings to get the picture. It was there. Oh, I couldn't.
All right, Aaron, let's hear your.
All right,
your
I'll go
Right.
back
This man is a legend. This man is a legend. Leave him alone.
I don't disagree, but all legends need to be poked by. It's the mirror. It's the metaphysical
I
mirror.
would say, Joe, that you're jealous. You're
Jealous?
You will put your face on camera, but you can't do this.
Oh,
So
I can't do that.
dream
I
on.
can't do that. But at least I got hair, motherfucker.
Sizzle.
Just like you see right there on that screen. I got that much hair.
Well, theoretically speaking,
I got hair. It's just inverted.
Just in different places. I know.
Oh no. Okay.
all right,
No more.
my
God.
problem with the early TSR adventures, and this is from whoever wrote it, is that they were literally just barely reworked from tournament adventures. A lot of them even included your pre-generated PCs and tournament scoring rules in the back.
You're right.
You're gonna run a tournament at your fucking kitchen table.
Yeah.
And score
Victory
your fellow
conditions.
players.
Yeah.
Right? So these adventures were written with not the idea of oh shit run. They were designed with the idea of oh shit you're dead, not giving you an opportunity, because that in a convention game back then The idea was to win was to survive. You got to the end. You were a survivor. You won.
That's how
Now,
Tim Short's Colmar Forest games are. Pretty much the same thing.
So
Now-
I know I don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt you too much, Eric, but this is where I start to have brain spasms.
Oh, here
All
we
right,
go.
So-
go ahead.
Let's hear it from the millennial.
What, if you have things where you can just walk into a room and go, oh, there's a coin on the floor, and you pick up the coin and it kills you immediately. That just encourages people to not mess with shit. Like, why are you even there in the first place? I don't understand.
I'm not disagreeing.
Well, no.
this
let me-
kind of style. I'm like, you guys are like, this is so great. I'm like, why do you
I'm
want to
not-
just
am I-
randomly
am I
dominate?
So
saying-
listen,
am
so-
I
so
saying
one of
it's
the-
great? Listen, you're preaching to the choir. I think Temple of Elemental Evil with Hamlet attached to it. I think I must have run out like
Yeah, I
5
think that's
times.
fantastic
I
adventure.
think
Yeah.
it's fantastic. But
Tomb
the
of
early
Horrors
guys,
is just
Tomb of
I have
Tomb
no
of
idea what
Horrors
the hell
can
they're
fuck
thinking.
my wee. All
So-
right,
so
I'm
get-
sorry.
Well, wait. Now, I'm
No,
going to
listen,
call you
so
out
Tim-
on that. Now, I have problems with the tournament dungeons. Don't get me wrong. I have very harsh criticism for TSR, first module being tournament dungeons. But what module has you going in and picking up a coin off the floor and killing you?
I think that was some hyperbole, but
That
we all
was
got the gist of what
hyperbole,
he's saying.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
well-
some seriously stupid
Well,
fucking shit.
I'm sorry. You're right, Greg. There isn't a coin on the floor, but there is something very similar.
The early.
Oh,
so the
he's
early-
going for a reach
the-
around. Did I see a reach around?
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Everybody
Here it
will
comes.
recognize
He's already
this
done one. You just weren't paying attention.
I was
yeah.
drunk. Oh, there it
Stick
is.
your head
But
into
maybe
the
not a
field of
coin on the
annihilation.
floor, but
There it is.
how many characters got obliterated when they stuck their hand in that mouth?
You never
Oh.
stick anything in a stranger's mouth. That I've learned that myself from personal experience. You just don't do it. Okay. If people knew that rule of life, they'd be fine.
So
Continue.
Mike,
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
Can I tell you something? I want to tell. So no, I've been wanting to say this for 5 minutes. God, you guys talk like I do on Eric's show. I don't let Eric have a word very much. So, talking to one of the founding fathers of D&D, the reason there were things like that is because there's spells called, for instance, Find Traps. Find Traps is an excellent spell that nobody ever gets. They forget it actually finds traps. There were spells like that. What they were trying to do is encourage the use of stuff like Find Traps, of augury, commune, because somebody told me this that played with Gary, and I can't remember if it's Tim or somebody else, that they would have entire parties that would go past stuff that kills everybody else because they made judicious use of those kind of spells. They would take information type spells like commune and augury and divination, and they would use Find Traps. And that's the thing, is they were trying to encourage people back then to use fighting isn't always the solution. Running in with your sword is not the only solution. Before you go in a room and you think there's something wrong, like you said, there's a coin in the middle of the floor, it looks weird, I'm going to throw a Find Traps on that. And then after that, or before that, I'm going to put an augury spell and see if I pick that coin up, is that going to be weal or woe for me?
But in the long term, I can't see how that. I mean, I play those modules, and your level of the module and your cleric's spell slots for what they can memorize, it's always a better option to choose Cure Light Wounds than fucking Find Traps, because
Of
Find
course
Traps
it is,
lasts
but-
for.
Whoa, Joe!
no, of
If you
course-
know you're going, okay,
Yeah.
I on the
Tomb of
very
Horrors,
first
well,
tournament
what's
that
better
you
to
were
have
never
Tomb of
ran,
Horrors?
they probably just got bitten in the ass about that because nobody, like he said, like Bad Mike said, nobody was taking Find Trap. But I guarantee you, the second year or the second con of the year when they saw a D&D tournament being run, you bet you that somebody, hey, bud, you need to take Find Trap. You need to memorize that, or you like memorize augury.
I mean,
Well,
what's better to
I'm
get
not
it?
opposed
Tomb
to
of Horrors.
traps. It makes
Whole
there's
person or-
places. There's
whole
places
person
where
or
it makes
Find
sense
Traps.
to have traps, but like there's also just traps that are in places where there's no logical reason for the person
Oh, you're
building
talking
the
about
trap
logic
to
in a
have
dungeon?
built it. You know what I mean? Like if you think of like a actual pyramid in real life, they put traps and issues in there, but it was at places where you were likely to be trying to break in. It wasn't like you're just walking down a hallway in some random place. You're hit by some.
Well, but
it's crazy.
You never know. I'll give an example. One of the early D&D adventures, Gary hides something in a chair leg. And I'm thinking, who is going to search a freaking? He's going to break a chair apart, search a chair leg. And not 2 weeks later, I was in college at the time. I'm at a lecture of a guy who went through the Depression. He was an older man. He's talking about his parents going through the Depression. His mother hid all their money in chair legs.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm thinking, I wonder if Gary knew this was something that
were they Italian?
No, they actually grew up in the Dust Bowl. They're in the Dust Bowl. So what they would do is, he said they had a high chair for the kids, and it had been passed down through generations. There was a thing that would pop off the bottom. Mm-hmm. His mother would put his dad's, because they didn't trust banks anymore. They'd put all his paychecks up in there and put in there, and then when they needed money, they'd pull out a paycheck and take the oldest one and go cash it.
Yeah,
and then they put the rest in there. And so I'm thinking, okay, Gary's a genius. Gary was hiding. Gary said hide gold and treasure in a chair. I never thought about it. Of course, my players, once they found that happened, then of course they go in the dungeon to destroying every piece of furniture because we got to search all the chair legs and cut over the seat cushions and everything. But so there's a little bit of reality in all that. It's not it seems like it's ridiculous.
So I pulled this out. I did the Rob reach around, but I had to go over to the other side. But the reason I pulled this out compared to looking at that, because TSR did some minimal rework on the tournament dungeons. Some of them have the tournament notes, but they fleshed them out. But the Judges Guild, when they printed this and the Gen Con IX dungeon, they basically just reprinted the
Gen Con 4?
Yeah.
Why do you say IX 9 instead of 4? If IX means 4.
IX means 9.
IX means 9.
No. Isn't V 5?
wait.
Yes, V is 5, dumbass.
Oh, IX. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Shit.
So again, when you read through this, it's not. It's meant as a puzzle. It's meant to be figured out. It's not meant to be random.
Well, I can appreciate if you have a area that nobody's been in for 200 years, that you would have a trap in the middle of the walkway. But if there's random monsters passing by every hour, then it doesn't make any fucking sense. That's what
I don't get those kind of guns. I mean, we're back on topic. Believe it or not, boys and girls, are back on topic. What makes up a Gygaxian adventure? Stupid ass fucking dungeons that make no fucking sense. I think that
Gygax didn't write Gonzo stuff except for Dungeon Land and Land of the Magic Mirror. God, his stuff's not Gonzo. It's pretty, as Rob said. A lot of it makes a lot of sense when you read it. Now Gonzo was really, if you want to look at Gonzo, that was Lawrence Schick doing.
Well, Mike, are we
Mountain,
saying
that became?
Are we saying Gygaxian is everything that Gygax made, or everything under Gygax's era, like these late 70s, early 80s? I mean, that's where we have to, I guess, define the term. What does the Gygaxian mean?
Yeah, that's a good point, Joe. But
Gygaxian,
that's a good point. But I don't think Gygaxian. I don't think Gygaxian is Gonzo, though. I think that's a totally different style. Gygaxian's using a naturalistic kind of background for fantasy, even though it's fantasy. And Rob said, and a good example is Village of Hamlet. Village of Hamlet is ostensibly a village with a castle being built nearby. There's a history that happened long ago there where there was a moat house. But there's all this stuff going on underneath the surface. There's all these subplots. There's assassins. There's all this stuff going on. So I think that's almost a quintessential Gygaxian module.
But then
actually, there's only a handful of subplots. I mean, I would say 2/3 of the entries are like fluff. They're just there. I know because I rewrote it for GURPS. And I had to add.
They're hiding gold. Yeah, well, it's just an average couple, and they're hiding gold in a pot in the backyard, and that's the description.
I mean,
that's because you're supposed to kill those people.
As most people's first group did when they went through
using logic.
No, you're right. You're absolutely correct. That's unfortunately that's what happened.
Even if you were running that under AD&D, it would be a mistake to go after the villagers, because when you look at the entire roster of what's in that village, I pity the poor fool adventuring fool.
Well,
with the
there's
travel.
there's Elmo, the disguised fourth level ranger that wants a big axe. That's in there. That if you screw around with him, you're going to be in big trouble because he's ostensibly once again the parts for the second level when they go through Village of Hamlet. So, but
And
there's
the
that.
Magician
There's the
and fighter
assassin. I mean,
who are lords of the
there's a
castle.
lot of there's all this undercurrent about there's basically people are spying on the city or the village. They're keeping an eye on it for the Temple of El Evil. For the higher up evil beings there. And
You
so
don't
that's
say.
kind of what your party's meant to find out. Now, if Gary had done it like he was supposed to, and there was actually a T2 the next year, then a T3 and a T4, I think it would have been a lot tighter. Unfortunately, he did T1, then he went Hollywood. And then after a while, he just handed it off to Frank. Frank did most of the writing, by the way, on T1 T4. Frank did almost everything after T1. He went by Gary's notes, sure, but he did a lot himself. So I think that would have been a lot tighter, and I think that would have been a really classic series if he'd been able to do T1, T2, T3, T4. I don't dislike T1 through 4, but there's a lot of parts of it I don't like either. The map being one, I hate the map. I think the
This was a
awful.
big disappointment for me.
Here,
When
map's
I
it's
was
like
I was very
somebody took
disappointed.
the piece of graph paper and they just went in with the lines of the graph
Oh, yeah.
paper with no jaquazing. There's no jaquazing the dungeon here. It's just here's a piece of graph paper. I'm going to make it fit exactly into that piece of graph paper.
Mhm.
Nobody had a side tunnel going off here. Nobody did this. No. It's all going to be in a big square here. That I hate that map. It's a terrible map. Terrible map.
What was it? Forest of Doom. That was Frank's, Eldritch Ent adventure. It's the same thing. It's a sheet of graph paper.
Yeah, that's
Number
lazy.
1?
That's a lazy ass mother effing map there.
Number 2 and 3.
Fill up the whole sheet of graph paper. That's what Gary told him. Fill up the whole sheet of graph paper. Don't go outside the line zone. Whatever you do, Frank.
It's
See,
not
that-
even
Go outside
letter
the line.
size.
It's gonna fit
Not
there.
even letter size.
But that's what I'm getting at, though, Mike. Is like, was that Gary's map or Frank's map? Because if it was Gary's map, the map makes no fucking sense. Why would?
I think
would
it was
the,
Frank's map. I'm pretty sure
Was
it was
it?
Frank's.
I
but I
thought.
don't know.
All right. Okay. I don't know.
Look at
look
at some of the stuff Frank's written. If you look at Frank's, and we have a very small body of work, but look at the stuff Frank's written, not just for TSR but for Eldritch and yeah, I think that's Frank's map because I don't.
Yeah.
Frank is
So-
Frank does not believe in jaquazing the dungeon. Let's just
No, that made no
just-
sense. The map was some of the dumbest maps I've ever seen. The layout, the dungeons, the levels, it made absolutely, from a verisimilitude point of view, made no sense.
Somewhere there's an alternate universe where we got some really, really kick-ass stuff because Gary didn't go to Hollywood in this other universe and did not go to Hollywood and stayed at TSR and kept writing. And he had this whole gigantic project with Steve Marsh, and I think Eric knows about this. This has been Steve's talked about it the last few years, but they were going to do something called Shadow Strands, and they were going to do the different planes of the shadow plane. They had all this ready to go. There's letters. Bob, I've actually got a letter around here somewhere, but Bill Meinhardt has one. I've got some copies where they went back and forth, and this was a go. This was going to happen. They were going to have these models of the plane. The city state of Stoink was supposed to come out. That was going to be a huge.
Stoink?
That's a city in Greyhawk.
City state of Stoink.
What the fuck is Stoink?
City's
I
Stoink.
recognize the name. I can't place where it's
in
at.
the world of Greyhawk, and it's got all
Was it
this
on the Wild
intrigue going
Coast?
on.
Wild Coast area?
They might be. But it's got a lot of intrigue going on there. He had a whole map made up for that never got used.
What was the name of the place?
Stoink.
Stoink. Stoink. City State.
I could say I could swear it's on the Wild Coast of Greyhawk somewhere in the Poem March.
You can find the maps on. If you look online, people have rescued some of the maps. The maps
Because
are very
I
crude.
think that
I do not think.
I think Stoink was part of some of the stuff that Carl Sargent wrote for the Greyhawk stuff.
No,
I
Stoink
love that
is in
shit.
the north.
Really? Okay.
Here, it's the first entry. It's the first entry here. Yeah, it's one of the oldest cities in Greyhawk. 50,000 people.
No shit.
Blah blah blah. Yeah, it's on there. It's on there. If you Google
Is
it,
his realm area?
But yeah, so this is. But I'm just saying, this was a lot of the projects that Gary had going. He was going to do something. Now he was going to do something with Rob Coots. That's debatable because Rob and him had all these plans during the years and always went wrong because they would clash.
I think.
I mean, Castle Greyhawk was supposed to happen. El Raja K was supposed to happen. That never happened until much, much later. This is all the world of make believe. If Gary doesn't go to California, he may have written some really classic, more kick-ass stuff. I mean, he may have written some really, really good stuff because I think some of the better stuff. I mean, one of the best things I think he ever wrote was WG4, Forgotten Thurisdan module. I think that has atmosphere. It's an interesting setting. There's a great little hex crawl area outside it. I think it's the best. I think it's the best thing he ever wrote.
Doink is one of
Lost
the
Temple.
Bandit Kingdoms.
Yeah, that's
Oh, so it's part of Iaz's realm. So it is part of something Carl Sargent wrote then.
Well, it was no. Stoink was originally a part of the Bandit Kingdom, and then when Carl Sargent took over Greyhawk, and wrote from the Ashes. The Bandit Kingdoms were taken over by us.
Yes. That's where I remember.
But when he wrote, so when Gary stops writing and hands it over to all those other people, I mean, there's still some good stuff being written. And Rob's right, and Eric and I talk about this. I mean, all the best. Look, the S series are all tournament modules. A series are all tournament modules. I mean, a lot of that's tournament modules. But those stuff that came out afterwards, you can see the change in tone right about 84 or so, because that's when you started getting stuff like Ravenloft, which is
Forest Oracle,
unlike anything written before. The Dragonlance stuff comes after that. I mean, you just get all this stuff it's not what you would consider classic. It's not stuff that we run over and over and over again. I mean, I probably ran the Forgotten City 100 times. It's a great setting. Dave Cook did awesome.
Is that the pyramid thing in the dungeon, in the jungle or whatever?
No, it's a thing in the dungeon, and you could play in there. I once had a campaign I ran for 2.5 years in there because there's all these buildings in there that it doesn't describe what's in there, and it's a giant sandbox is what it is. Yeah. But the later stuff, you start talking about the later stuff. How many people's favorite module was, I don't know, UK 7 or something? Well, it's not. It's just not as good. No. It started getting more homogenized. It moved away from the Gygaxian model, or the Gygaxian.
Which was what, Mike? What do you define it to be?
Yep, there we go. That's what
Rob, is this gonna be like the definition of porn? You'll know it when you see it. I think this might be
but
it.
The thing is, I think
really
that is the truth.
Be.
Mike, I think that's the truth. We heard Rob's. What is your definition of what is the Gygaxian module?
I think, like I said, if you take, I think if you put T1 down the table and say this is the Gygaxian module, I think that you're going to hit every point that I would.
Give me the characteristics, though. Give me 5 characteristics.
It's naturalistic. Okay. But it has a veneer of naturalism because you got to remember this is a fantasy world, so it's got a veneer of naturalism.
What does naturalism mean to you, Mike?
Okay, for instance, like when you go into Village of Hama, like Greg was saying, there's all these descriptions of buildings, and all it is mom and dad, and he's a farmer, she's a potter, and there's 35 gold pieces under the sink. That's it. They don't all have this great secret. They don't have a super magic item hidden, or whatever. They're just going to tell you this is what all these people are doing, and then every once in a while you have somebody that's up to something. But for the most
number
part,
one, naturalistic.
These are people.
Number 1, naturalistic. What's number 2? Yeah. Give me 5.
Let's see. I think one thing he does really good is I think he makes really intelligent foes. And I think that's something people lose too, especially if you read Judges Guild stuff. Judges Guild stuff, there's no intelligent foes in any of that. It's just a bunch of monsters that attack you. And most people that wrote monsters back then wrote monster hotels. That's what it was. It was just, one room you run into a Medusa, next room there's a Manicore. I'm just going to go through the whole D&D book. I'm going to go through the whole monster manual, just put a monster. I think Gary was really smart about putting intelligent foes in there that had intelligent actions. And he would also do that. He would often say, okay, round 1, this guy's going to cast this. Round 2, he's going to do this. Round 3. I think that's something we've lost now. You don't see that in modules anymore. Right. We haven't seen it for a long time.
Number 3, Mike. What is number 3?
Rob, I need some help here. Throw some stuff in.
You need some help from me? Well, think about it. Wait a minute, Mike, think. So you're talking about Village of Hamlet, but what happens when you actually get into his dungeons? They're not naturalistic. I mean, he does tend to describe things, but but I think his dungeons are very different than when he describes the wilderness, places like the Village of Hamlet. What would you characterize the dungeons as his dungeons being like?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I like about his dungeons. I think he has a really good economy of space in his dungeons. There's not wasted areas, which doesn't now. when you write a dungeon, you don't want every single nook and cranny to have something exciting because that's bullshit. You're going to have a lot of empty passages, dead ends, turnarounds. One thing I like about his dungeons, I think he has a good economy of style. Everything there has a purpose. Here's where the people are eating at. He's just as much time telling you where the room is, where everybody's having dinner, as he will about the treasure room. Later on. And I think that's really cool because I think a lot of people skimp that stuff. It's like the first module you ever read that actually had toilets in it. You're like, whoa, wait a second. There's actually toilets in this module, which I think was L2, by the way. I think there was a privy in L2, and I'm like, oh my God, these people actually go to the bathroom. Because that's never mentioned in any other module. So I do like his the way I like most of the way Gary's dungeons are put together. That includes the Giant series. I like think about how iconic those Giant series fortresses are. They're really cool, and they're made like I said. You go in, there's a guard post. There's logical placing of all the guards. And if you look at some of the later modules, they're not laid out as well. It's more, you start getting into the Monster Hotel stuff, where nobody wants to hear about the guard room, nobody wants to hear about the privy, no one wants to hear about the bathroom. Let's just get straight to the part where they're in the big giant hall and they all start battling. So I think that's one thing Guy does really well is put those areas in there that make it like, oh, okay, yeah, these are real beings in here. Look, here's a room where they eat. I mean, look, the biggest encounter in the Hill Giant is the giant hall where they're all eating, right? I mean, that's iconic now.
You realize those giant modules
having dinner
are death traps, not maybe. The first one, the Hill Giant one, there is absolutely no reason if the party isn't careful. I mean, there's absolutely no reason that every giant in this building will barrel toward the party if they get into a serious fight.
But once again, that's one thing. Now, that's another thing about Gary's dungeons. He doesn't hold your hand a lot on that because a lot of those dungeons, it makes, like, for instance, the Steeding the Hill Giants. Yes, you're an idiot if your party runs in there, kicks in the door, and tries to fight the 18 giants having dinner at the same time. You're obviously not supposed to do that. But I know many a story about people who they do that, including a party that I ran through at one time. That thought, okay, so that I thought, oh well, it's here, so that means we're supposed to kill all the giants, right? No, you're supposed to sneak around. You're supposed to find out, because remember what your job is in there. It's to find out who's the power behind the giants and to put it into the giants' plans. So it's just as important to find out who's behind it all as to kill all the giants too.
So here's who's in the long haul. It is Chief Nostra and his wife, the sub chief, a cloud giant, 3 stone giant, 22 hill giant, 8 ogres, and beneath the chief's table, a cave bear.
But you're not supposed to kick in the door and take them on. You're not supposed.
But here's something cool with the naturalistic bent. Room 21, ogres quarters. The hill giants employ ogres for scouts, messengers, servants, and the like. For the ogres that are trusty flunkies as well as hard workers and fighters. In addition to those in the Great Hall and the young at work in the kitchen, there are 5 of them here, playing at knucklebones and drinking small beer. I mean, that is cool.
That's a great description. That's a very Gygaxian description right there. Here's what they're doing. They're not doing anything too exciting. They're just hanging out. Mm-hmm. And I think if you read the later modules in the 80s, I think you lose a lot of that. You lose a ton of that.
Here's the spell reference out of my player's handbook.
I'll tell you who writes very Gygaxian, but it's not quite the same as Ed Greenwood. If you look at some of the Ed Greenwood stuff, he does some naturalistic stuff, but his stuff is probably too high fantasy. Oh, okay. There's another thing for you, Joe. I think his stuff is. I think he does a lot of good low fantasy. I don't think his stuff is necessarily high fantasy. I think low fantasy does very well. And I think the whole TSR company started switching to high fantasy right after he left for Hollywood, and they started doing stuff on their own. Because hey, man, people love magic items and they love crazy monsters and they love lots of treasure. So let's give that to them. I think
they went from Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser style and the Swords and Sorcery style by Gary into something Lord of the Rings high fantasy. Dragonlance took it away, and then all the other novels that came out, the Drizzt books and all that shit. Yeah, it went completely high fantasy after him. Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. One of my favorite modules is N3 Destiny of Kings.
And that's who wrote that? I can't remember. That's a very
wasn't.
good module because there's no isn't that the one there's no monsters in? Um,
No, it's just
Rob.
players dealing with NPCs and their plots.
Yeah,
Mm.
there's absolutely no. I don't think there's any monsters now. I don't think there's even an orc. It's all humans versus humans bullshit. It's a lot of politics. It's really good. It's actually really is a really good module.
And
That's
I like
very
out of the UK's, my favorite is Sentinel and Gauntlet.
Those are very good. Those are very white dwarfish though, aren't they, Rob? They very much. That's the kind of adventure you'd find in White Dwarf magazine, where you have two magic items and they have to cancel each other out. It's very, it's hard to explain. But when you're reading that, the first thing I thought was this sounds like something rejected for White Dwarf that somebody rewrote because I think there's a style to the White Dwarf stuff, which I liked a lot of the old White Dwarf adventures. I thought there were some really good ones in there. So.
Well,
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
say
UK
UK1, the Beyond the Crystal Cave is definitely got Tim and Joe's and Greg's number because those damn leprechaun lingerets triggers them.
I hate that module because it's a if you don't have the right party for that, it's a nightmare because it's all negotiation. You get penalized actually for attacking stuff, and that's just a lot to ask for most parties to say, look, I know you guys are used to going in there and killing everything, but you're going to have to play it different this module, and I just don't think people have fun. I think the right party would have a lot of fun with that. I think 80% of D&D parties would not have any fun with that. I that's one of the only the first edition D&D watch because I just knew that every group I had would have had absolutely no fun there. Although it might have been fun to go in there and kill everything. That would actually be a kind of a twist module to go kill all the leprechauns and fairies and satyrs and pixies or whatever.
Well, another good one is N1 Cult of the Reptile God.
Yeah, who wrote that, Rob? That was Douglas
Niles.
Niles wrote, yeah, I thought a lot of Niles.
I thought Reptile God was good.
Yeah.
Greg, what? I mean, you're a different generation, obviously, slightly, than most of us. I mean, what would you consider to be a Gygaxian dungeon, having not been a D&D player while Gygaxian dungeons were created? I think that's kind of an interesting take on it. You know, you weren't playing them at the time. You kind of like came across them later. It sounds like you have some disdain for them.
Well, I don't know. It's disdain. I mean, because I give them credit that they were feeling things out. You know,
okay.
I wouldn't expect someone to like come right out of the gate and have solved all the problems.
But what do you consider to be a Gygaxian dungeon that needed to be solved as a problem?
Oh, to me, like that, there's like the Monster Hotel problem is real.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that don't make sense, and there's things that I wouldn't expect a player to find in a lot of cases, right? So like there's stuff like hidden in the chair leg is a great example. There's one in the moat house in Elemental Evil. I can't remember how to describe. There's like a ledge where nobody looks up on the ledge that I've ever seen going through the like.
Mm-hmm.
There's something hidden there, like stuff like that. Like there's I see a lot of effort going into things that I don't even see the players encountering, or when they encounter it, they don't understand what's going on, right? Like, for instance, in the Lost City, which I've been using recently, there's people that are in such close proximity to each other that if there's any fight, everyone would be aware that the fight was going on almost immediately, and yet.
What were you describing? Borderlands? You're describing all the giant modules.
Yeah. So it's just like it. I'm like, what? They can't even, and it would be things that there's no way that they could avoid it's not like they could lure people out of a particular area or something. It's like a something that they stumble into and then immediately triggers all kinds of stuff that gets out of control too quickly. And so I have to kind of bend reality just to make it make sense to modern people. And maybe that's me not knowing how to do it right or some kind of shit like that. I don't know, but that's my experience with it.
Well, once again, Greg, I think that there's a lot left unsaid there, and I think one of the things is, like, let's take Steeding of the Hill Giant, for example. If you start a fight with the giants in the room next to another giants, the DM should absolutely have those giants run in there. And if you create a big enough brouhaha, you're going to have the whole Steeding down around your ears. And I think, but I wish Gary.
I think that's fair in the case of all these giants living in one location. Mm-hmm. When it's like two monsters that have no reason to even be in the same place, and you walk into a room and it's 100% hostile encounter, like it's an animal or something. It's not gonna. You're not gonna have a parlay chance with it. And it's a predator. Immediately jumps and starts fighting. Like there's all kinds of these points like that, and like I said, I'm forgiving in that this was something that they were just working out at the beginning. But to me, like when you say Gygax, like I think of it as kind of being in that period when people were stumbling. That's how I think of it in my mind. Even if I don't know that I would say, necessarily beyond just produced within this time frame, but when I think about it from a judgment perspective, that's what I think of it as. Oh, this is from a time when they were still figuring shit out.
Well, are you criticizing the writing of the time, or are you criticizing Gygax specifically? Because Gygax, even in Keep on the Borderland, he tends to do, and I'm reading from the Moat House here. Here I have a sequence of room that has number 7 ogre, number 10 6 bugbears, number 12 9 gnolls. But when you read the text, the ogre. This creature has been lured into service by the promise of gods and fresh meat, plenty of it being human flesh, of course.
That ogre was no joke, by the way. That was a tough encounter.
The bugbear, it explicitly said, these creatures have been recently recruited by the new master. The gnolls. Originally, there were 14 of these humanoids recruited to raid and pillage. The activity to the east and south had taken their toll. So all of these are given a reason why they're there. Also, when you look at the map, you could easily think, oh, it's just an old-time referee just packing everything in there because they could. Mm-hmm. But when you but Gygax specifically, for the most part, when he does this, and I'm not talking Temple of Elemental People, as we said, it's written mostly by Frank Mesner. When we look at his other stuff, it makes sense. Deadly, but still makes sense.
The dungeon itself doesn't. The layout, the architectural layout, doesn't make a lot of sense. I can't figure out what the rooms used to be, why they were drawn the way they were, why that layout is there, why any engineer thought that was efficient in time and money saving.
It's not very naturalistic at all. Yeah,
at all.
It's typical. Yeah. That's what I say. I've ran it several times. It's just that I don't think it's. I think it could have been a lot better with. So you have to look at what we have now. So now we're talking 50 years later after D&D started. Yeah. People actually teach and take classes on design. This is actually a design issue now. Whereas back then, you had lots of monster hotels. These guys they were kids. They had no clue what they were doing. They just rolled up a bunch of rooms and threw a bunch of monsters in there. And I always say this, and I absolutely believe this is true. If you took Rob Conley, Greg Gillespie, Matt Finch, and Greg Christopher and threw them in a time machine and brought them back to 1980, they would write the best stuff ever written for D&D.
On behalf of Eric and I got to say fuck you. But okay, continue.
No, you and Eric. There's only 4 people on this bus, and you and Eric are not on the bus. So I'm sorry. I didn't put myself in there either. I'm not in there either.
I'm on the short bus, I guess. I don't know.
But you see my point though is that the stuff they write now is so much better than what was right there. But they have they are able to look back on what was written, and also designing a dungeon has become a thing in the last 30, 40 years in terms of what's naturalistic. You don't No, you don't have a room of 6 rust monsters next to the King's Guard with 8 guys with armor. It doesn't make any sense, and
Well,
people
Mike,
now
the way I look
aren't
at that,
afraid to
Mike,
say that.
the quick summary of that, Mike, is where did the orcs take a shit? I'm trying to trademark that. All right, so don't use it yourself. But I mean, it really comes down to that question. I mean, how does it make any sense? Where does this play? Why would somebody design this? I understand monsters occupying something that was 300 years earlier designed or whatever the hell it would be.
I'll tell you what. If you read some of the Gygax modules, there will be a room in there. It says this is room where the orcs relieve themselves, and it's disgusting. And there's usually rot grubs in there, and it's disgusting because they just go in there and drop them. And
you
just
trying to trigger me with the rot grub talk, Mike? Are you trying to trigger me? Because I had some shit happen to me with rot grubs. All right.
By the way, in Edward Greenwood's Ruins of Undermountain, he actually has privies in there, which I think is great.
So the biggest challenge for me when I talk about this stuff, especially for Dungeon, is the way I do it. I imagine if I'm there walking around looking things, and yes, the lack of shitters would stand out to me. Like I would say, where they go to the bathroom. Just if you went into some building that's obviously somebody's home, and you notice there's no bathroom. Okay, there's no outhouse, no bathroom, what's going on here? But usually, there's a lot of other details, and I try to imagine if I was there looking at it and watching people go about their business, which is nice for me, but it's tough to explain to others. But I'm going to throw out something it's related to Gygax, but something that's not so much about naturalism or packing monster. I think the cardinal sin of these early modules, especially starting with these guys here, is that they're laid out as they were. Now they're fleshed out, mind you, especially the TSR, but they're laid out in what I call the tournament style dungeon. And I think that format has done a lot of damage. It's really distorted how people design adventures since the beginning of the hobby. Because there's one problem. This is great for tournaments, especially this guy right here. When you read through this, you understand. Okay, I can see how they have 50 DMs run the same adventure for 200 to 300 players, and how it was a fun experience. It's very thorough for what it tries to do. But when you're talking about the possibility of stuff that you can have for your adventure, the problem with this format, it doesn't scale. Look at all the failed attempts with Mega Dungeon. And when you finally get around to writing a Mega Dungeon, what do you get? You get this big, thick book. Look at the Mad Archmage Dungeon that Joe Block written. That is huge. It's packed with information. Now, he does a good job for it. But I think because everybody got so welded to the tournament style format that they didn't bother experimenting with other stuff. Stuff that could have been more compact, more comprehended, have more scope. Maybe, like right up a dance party, a ball, as an adventure. The Thieves Guild tried to do that. Number 3, the Duke's Dress Ball. The centerpiece of that was an adventure centered around you're a bunch of thieves. You go into the Duke's Dress. You have invitation to the Duke's Dress Ball, and you try to make money. You try to be thieves in that. And I don't know if that's the best way of doing it there, but there was a lot less experimentation of that. And I think more than packing monsters in too close and tight of a space, or naturalism versus gonzo versus surreal, I think that the actual nuts and bolt layout of it, that's the biggest problem of these older modules. That people thought, if I got to be a professional, this is the way it's got to be. And I think we didn't. There's a lot of avenues that we're only now beginning to explore that were closed off back in the 70s and early 80s.
Rob, if only you had a way to write modules in your own style and publish them.
Well, I have. I got one out.
How could Rob do this? That's I say. Just if you think there's an avenue people aren't taking, go for it.
Well, I'm working on it.
I want to see Rob Conley's The Magic Ball RPG module. I mean, I'm hooked. I'm in. Let's do it.
Well, I'll post. I'll give Eric a link to one thing. It's not a finished product, but it's a template for one.
So when Rob said I have something throw out there for you guys, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to take a leak, take a puff, and take another hit. So I went to the bathroom, came back. What was that, Eric Greg, that you came back on? What was
you lose, Joe.
I guess I missed out, but I heard Greg's response, so I figured it must be a good thing.
Rob says that he thinks that module design and this is
module format,
largely the entire thrust of OSR. That things took a wrong turn based on some factors, and it would be best to backtrack and go a different path.
Okay.
Which, hey, I'm not opposed to that logic. I was just saying, write it up.
Yeah,
do it.
For instance, we never got Gygax's Castle Greyhawk, and as close as and then in the last year of his life, he worked with Troll Lords the game, and they came out with the Upper Works. And what format is it in? It's in the tournament style format, and it's a box set, and it's only the upper level.
How is that tournament, Rob? That thing could take you 9 years. I ran that fucking thing. It took me months and months. That's not a tournament style. That's a great module, dude.
Did it have a map with a key? And
yeah, but Rob, you couldn't run that you could run that over a 4-day tournament straight, maybe, without sleeping.
No, you don't understand. Tournament format. It's formatted like a tournament style dungeon.
So what?
Because look at all those entries. It's just a literal list starting at number 1 to what's the highest numbered room in that thing.
Mike, you were showing something off.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I was showing what Rob was talking about.
That's good stuff, though. What's wrong with that,
Rob?
It's
classic. Well, because that's what you're used to, Joe. That's the way everything was written.
Yeah,
it's classic.
I like it.
Don't get me wrong, Joe. You can write some good stuff with that format. But how many entries are in that bad, Mike?
A lot.
The Mouth of Madness, which is the first one. Let me see. Hold on, I didn't want to destroy my set. It fell on the ground there.
Let's just look at the level 1, the upper work.
There's like 60. Yeah, there's over 60 entries.
And what's the page count on that?
Oh gosh, it's 44 pages.
I guarantee you.
That's just the first book.
When he ran his upper work, it wasn't 44 freaking pages.
No.
Well, Rob, I mean, I'm not unsympathetic to your argument here, actually, but what is it that you're proposing as the alternative? Because this throws out as an example. I really like the Alien modules from Free League. They have a keyed map, but then they have events that happen in sequence. When you get to a certain set of conditions, this happens. When that's resolved, this other thing happens. And so it doesn't matter what room the characters are in per se when that event happens. That it could be this is from Destroyer of Worlds. There's a time in the module where a cruiser kind of crashes on the planet, and it's not related to anything the PCs are doing, right? So, but it's an event that moves forward. So I'm just trying to present that as an idea. So
yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So
what other formats are you talking about?
Okay, so in my how to make a fantasy sandbox, I thought long and hard about how to format. I have some keyed areas, okay, but they're few and far between, and they're only about a half a dozen entries. Most of the book is telling, it's explaining, it gives an overview. Then I break it down a little bit more. Now there's 4 pages that summarize the major events that happened when I play tested it a dozen times. The events don't have to happen in a particular order, but these are the ones that did happen, and I'm describing why they happened and the details that I used in there. And then later in the book, I flesh out each of the, I think they're like 13 or 14 of them. And then I flesh them out with maps. And if one or two of them are a key location, so I fleshed that out. And I felt that did very good for that sandbox adventure. And the alien module you described, by having that event table and their prelude, and when they explain how it hangs together, combined with the key map, that's a good example of a format that's trying to do what's best for the adventure itself. And as for the problem I was complaining, the reason I was using Upper Works as an example, 44 pages with 60 entries, it's not going to scale over 13 level dungeon. It's just going to be too much information to process. And when
Rob,
you look,
Rob,
I'm not done. I'm not done.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I observed, because people took photographs of Gygax running stuff at con. People, we have Bob Bledsoe's Tego Manor, and I noticed that what we saw of their notes and what Bob Bledsoe published, they're really memory aids. Okay, they had just enough description, along with a few fleshed out areas. There are a few fleshed out areas that are, I would say, tournament style, but they needed that detail. So, but the only thing that I felt was missing was like anywhere between 6 to 12 plays that would be Gygax or Bledsoe talking to the reader. Okay, this is what it was going through my mind when I used these maps to riff, because they would teach you how to ad-lib these modules. And if you could teach it and this is just to solve the problem of the mega dungeon, mind you, not for all adventure, just for mega dungeon, huge sprawling locations. Teach you how to ad-lib that place. And that way you can publish 128 books that covers all 13 levels of Castle Greyhawk, because it would fit in those 128 pages, and you would still get your money's worth out of the book, and still felt that you would be equipped to run this module with it. But if you wrote that in the tournament style, with the level of detail that tournament style module required, then you have the Troll Lord Games plan of this, or Joseph Bloch's Castle of the Mad Archmage. You got this big thick books or multiple box sets when you don't have to have that.
Well, but here's the thing, Rob. That works with a certain style of GM, but you got to. I would say, if you are going to publish something like Gary's Works, you got to publish to the lowest common denominator. And some GMs, and I know this from talking to people at conventions and online, are not comfortable with ad-libbing. They want the stuff, if they're paying for it, they want everything given to them. I love to ad-lib. I love to improvise. I'm fine with that. But there are people who aren't fine with that. And there's two different styles and two different ways to look at it. Neither one is right, neither one is wrong. But if you are going to market for a product that you're going to try to sell to the most people, I would say that you're probably, besides the fact that you're selling more books and therefore making more money selling more books, you're making it more approachable, because people are going to look at it and go, oh, I understand everything I have. It's all in front of me, as opposed to I have to ad-lib and improvise. Again, I love to ad-lib.
Well, my counterpoint to that, Eric, is, okay, so you're going to, Troll Lord Game is going to publish, Castle Zag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's going to be 4 box set. And when you add it all up, you're talking dropping $300. Now, how I say, my argument to you, you could go that route, but it's still not going to get you the general release you're hoping for, because people aren't going to spend $300.
They'll spend it. And our community, they will spend it, Rob. We've seen it. And people for Castle Zagic are going to spend it because they've been waiting for over a decade.
Rob, I was the very last purchaser ever in history of mankind for Castle Zagic, because I was broke as fuck back then, and I kept calling Steve Steve Chenault, the Troll Lord, said, dude, put one aside for me. Don't let them sell out. I mean, my name is Joe. I give all the information. I call every month. I just never had the fucking money. And then finally I had the money, and Gail, the fucking whatever, canceled their contract. I'm like, no. So I called Steve. I'm like, please tell me it's not so. I finally got the fucking $50. And he goes, all right, I'll reach out. He reached out. She said yes. He sold it to me. I got the last copy ever sold. I will pay $1 million for anything zagging that comes out. And I'm not alone. All right. There's
I'm not saying you're alone. Okay. What I'm saying is you got two design choices. You write it what I call minimal dungeon style. You explain people how to ad lib. And you're right. It's going to be a limited market. But I'm going to say that market is of equal size to the one where to the market who's willing to drop $300.
For regular adventures, certainly, Rob. But when you have Castle Zaggig and that's what you're pimping, people don't want an ad lib dungeon. Everybody wants something that is fleshed out. You can't.
This is how Gygax did it. They
doesn't
would
make it. Listen,
Gygax, not Gary Gygax.
Right. See, Rob. Here's the other thing too.
What was that, Mike? I missed what you said, Mike. I'm sorry.
I'll say, but most people are not Gary Gygax. They don't have those skills, and they need to be able to read a description without being able to have to add.
Right. I mean,
I can also see it making a lot more sense in a wilderness context than in a dungeon context.
Yeah.
Because like when one of the things that I think is really comprehensive and good in the Acts 2 design is rolling up new hex contents and getting a reliable, it's not like you're getting these crazy results that are all divergent and everything. Like you can roll up something that you can put a couple of minutes of thought into and then roll it in as a GM for me. But I just don't see that happening underground unless you really rethink. I do think there's a room for rethinking how we do dungeons. I'm not saying that, but like if you had the idea that dungeons were broken up into kind of nodes that were connected by, so there was some distance between these different areas, and then you rolled randomly to see what was in the nodes and stuff like that. You could do that, but it would. I mean, you're right. It would require a lot different of an organizational style. And I'd need to see Bat in the Attic step up to the plate and hit this home run.
Fighting words.
Well, I got my projects lined up, okay, and I write slow, so I'm not trying to make excuses here. But the key, Eric, Joe, that to make this work is if I had to do this, I would have to have that section that teach you how to ad lib section to compete with the box set for Castle Zaggig or the Mad Mage, which is similarly fleshed out.
Right.
I would have to write a hell of a ad hoc section. I don't know if I'm up to task. I mean, I will probably take a stab at it one day, but it will take doing that to be as successful as it. But then again, the organizational skill, the discipline, and the writing skill to make 4 box sets worth $300, to encapsulate 13 levels of Castle Zaggig, I say equal. It takes an equal amount of skill to pull that off at a quality level to what I'm proposing. The only difference, I would say, is if you have that skill to write that well, to teach somebody how to ad-lib a dungeon, you are more likely to get out a minimal dungeon in the format I'm talking to you than you would those
Rob,
4 box sets.
I mean, beyond the practical effect of like, how do you train people like that? It's very hard. I mean, you're a smart dude. I'll give you that. I mean, you're very smart. You're very well read. You pick up things quickly. And not everybody's like that. They can't. I wasn't able to do what you're describing for 20 fucking years till my 30s or 40s. Well, you know what I mean? I was a shithead with that kind of stuff. So it's not easy to do something like that, to be a great DM at the gate. Just
not easy to teach. You gotta just try different things. That's like, when I wrote in my blog, You know, there's a lot of times I explained something and it just went over like a lead balloon, and then a couple years later I explained it a little bit different, and I got a little good response.
But the difference though, right, is that when if I was looking at YouTube videos and reading books on that, or web pages or something like that about how to do this, that's one thing. But if I'm paying back in the day, $8 or $9 for a module, or nowadays $30 or $40 for a module, I want that shit filled in. If I ever bought something for whatever the current rate for a module is today, and I brought the fucker home, and there was entries like in, I think it was B1 or B2, where it's like, DM, fill in your own description here. I was like, motherfuck you. Give me my fucking money back. What did I pay for blank pages for?
That's the thing, Joe. Well, what I propose, you wouldn't feel like that when you got to those fill in the description, although that's not quite what I'm talking about. It would be terse, Joe, but you would know, you would look at that entry, as terse it is, you would understand how to use it after you read the first two or three chapters. That would be the point. The point is, if you were just handed that, then yeah. I mean, there's a photograph of Gary Gygax sitting with his notebook open, and if I handed you just that dungeon map that's on one page and that key on the other page, you are well within your right to go, fuck you, I'm not going to pay for that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there's going to be some stuff. And as for whether it's possible, my mom, God bless her soul, she passed away a couple of years back, but she was a teacher. And we talked about teaching stuff, and she was a coach too, a very good. I got a plaque here where she coached the girls swimming team, and she's 49-0 over 4 years. She never lost a swimming match. So she taught me, one of the things she says about teaching and coaching is that it's a skill. You got to hone it, and then you got to look at what you're trying to teach. You got to look at the people.
But if I'm buying a module, Rob, I'm not looking to hone my skill. I want to run an adventure tonight because I got to prep something.
I'm not looking to go back to school. I'm not looking to, and that's the thing. You're trying to, Rob, your stuff will have its own audience because Rob Conley has a following. Rob Conley has, but you're not going to grab the people that want a fleshed out dungeon. You're not going to grab them, and you're not going to convince them. Brood DM, Council Greyhawk needs enough detail that a 12-year-old can run it. Like we all had to back in the old days, uphill
both ways.
I mean, and again, you're saying like Gary ran from minimal notes. So do I. Yeah. But I can't publish my minimal notes.
Well,
anything that
if your niece came to you and she's a little bit older, okay, and she looked at one of your maps and you start explaining could you teach her how to ad-lib that dungeon that you created?
She was ad-libbing dungeons herself when she was 6.
She's a unique kid, Rob.
Okay,
I did an auction with her, I think, and he was pretty unique.
Her friend, okay.
All right. See, like that's just it. They're gonna want most kids, most people, most adults don't want to buy something and then have to make it work. Yeah. They want to buy something and it works.
Yes.
All right. That is your modern society. Actually, that was us back in the day too.
That we too. I wanted to run something this weekend, and here it is.
That's the chapter on ad-lib would teach you how to make it work.
That works, Rob. You're sounding to somebody who loves to do that in the first place. I love to run with minimal stuff so I can react to my party, react to my gaming group, and be like on the edge of my seat. Am I going to be one step ahead of them? I love that stuff. But there are people, believe it or not, and I want to insult anybody, that are so fucking anal that they need to know they won't run Castle Greyhawk until everything for it is published, because they need to know when their party goes in at first level where they could be 17 years in the future.
That's like typical geek autism fucking approach.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of
My counterpoint to that is yes, those people exist. My counterpoint to that, they're an outlier. Just as the people. Wait, let me finish. They're an outlier, just like the people who you can sell a map and just minimally. You can sell them Tego Manor, the original Tego Manor, and they're happy with it. They get it right away. That's an outlier. I would be targeting the middle.
But-
Okay, I would be targeting the middle that who were not exposed to the possibility. Then I would explain it because when it came now. I know I only have a data point of 1, my Scourge of the Demon Wolf adventure, but I have more than a few either comments or email saying, Rob, this Scourge of the Demon Wolf, before I read it, I didn't get this sandbox adventure stuff, but now that I read it, I get it, And it's wasn't just a couple of outliers. There was a bunch of people.
But Rob, on the other side of it, those maniacs you were talking about before who won't run until everything's out, they may be an outlier in terms of percentage of the gaming base, but they are opposite of an outlier in terms of those who buy shit.
Yes.
All right, so that's the
what the
difference you're
marketing
talking
says.
about.
Yeah,
Those are the fuckers who are 55 years old, who are single nerds like us or me, and we just have extra money to buy shit. I think I'm the only single one here. Yeah, Catwoman, the only single one here. I'm the sexiest motherfucker in this whole scene right now, and I'm the single one. Anyway, I have a question for you guys. Do you want to see an unboxing live?
What are you gonna?
Oh, let's see. I will. Let me
Wait a
try to
second.
figure out how to.
We don't
I saw your
we don't have
hand
a
touching
picture.
Catwoman inappropriately.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't say nothing. Okay. Know what this is?
Oh,
I
yeah,
know
I
what
have
that
that.
is.
That's awesome, man.
Yes,
I love
I just got it in the mail. I can't take it out of the actual box it came in, but because there's other
Those
stuff
are the
there.
minis, right?
You don't want to
So-
see what else is in. But yes, this
Wait a
is
second.
this,
Is that number 3? Is that 2 or 3?
this is G through
Is
J.
that 3?
Yes, this is the third
How
one.
much does that cost you?
$80,
okay,
baby.
Yeah,
80
I
bucks.
don't have the. Yeah, I only have one. I only have
All
one
right.
or two.
Well,
I
I'm
don't have
about
three
to spoil your opening, dude, because here we go.
yet. Show me what we got.
All right. This is a griffin.
Oh, very cool.
All right. All right. Good
That's not a
griffin there.
griffin. Whoa. That
It's
is
not
a,
what is that?
that's a
Is it a
gorgon.
griffin?
That's a gorgon.
Gorgon. Good.
It's
Good.
about,
It's a gorgon,
it's about to stone your ass.
That was a.
Yeah,
that
look
was,
at that. There's
that was
gas
actually a
coming from
test.
it.
I knew exactly
Yeah.
what that was,
Yeah.
Rob. That was
Of
just a
course you
test.
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right then, Rob. Smarty pants, motherfucker. What is this?
That's a hippocampus.
H. Okay, because we are going from G through J. Correct.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Quiz. This is what is this?
There's your griffin.
There's a
You're right.
griffin.
Yeah.
I believe so. All right. We're getting smaller and smaller as we go, boys and girls. It's like that eye test when you get older. You like dread it.
Harpy.
Harpy.
Hellhound.
Harpy.
Your hands
Harpy.
are covered in the rest.
What?
Yeah.
Harpy. I
That's
think
a
it's a
harpy.
harpy.
Rob's
up.
trying to
Cover the
jump
boobs with your
ahead.
finger.
Rob is cheating. Rob is looking it up somewhere, I think.
Why does it have that little tiny? There's 2 tiny little figures there. What the
Oh
hell?
shit! I dropped it and I fuck.
Yeah, you never find
Where'd
it.
it go?
again.
Fuck.
It goes in
Where'd
the
it go?
shit.
There, I got it.
Rob's
It's
got
stuck in a.
yeah.
It's stuck in a fat flab, so I
Oh,
caught
it's
it.
a goblin.
That is a goblin.
Yeah, it's a goblin.
Okay.
Wait a
we
minute.
need
But
goblin.
hold it up.
We
Hold
need a
on.
goblin
What
figure.
edition is that from?
This is from AD&D, Rob. There's a whole
Yeah, it's
collection of these.
Well,
fucking
let me
It's
see
about-
that.
It's
Some
Okay.
of them are
edition.
from later editions. They're used from
This is from
illustration.
first edition.
This is all the first edition art, Rob.
Yeah, it's first edition. They take it from the original art. They're making the
Yep.
monsters from the original art and the original
This
monsters.
is a goblin. Or no, I'm sorry. There is not a goblin here. I think that this is. I have the
Kobold?
this
It's
is an
got
imp.
wings.
This is an imp, boys and girls. This is
Oh,
an
an
imp.
Oh shit!
All right.
Yes, it is an imp.
Creepy imp. Yeah.
This is
Okay.
too blurry. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
almost there.
It's hard to hold. It's still from my shit camera.
It's so small, it's hard to focus
That's
on.
Rob. This is my thumbnail.
I was talking about your penis, Joe. Never
Oh,
mind.
sorry. I had that.
Wow.
On camera. Damn it! I had that on camera again.
Yes.
All right. Guess this, boys and girls.
Hellhound.
Hell.
All right. Yes, you got it. All right. And then remember, we are G through I. Now hold it. I will show you this, and I'll show you this. Tell me if you tell the difference.
Ghoul in a ghost.
Oh,
Yeah.
boom!
Oh.
Yes, you got it. All right. And by the way, boys and girls, this here was the hippocampus.
That's what Rob said.
Yeah, Rob got it right.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Are you paying attention tonight,
I'm
Joe?
drunk,
Are
man.
you?
He's got some. He's taking some gummies.
Yes. Oh, some. I had a box. Yeah, so there is my grand opening on camera, live, boys and girls.
Cool.
Now I got to find space for it on my shelves.
Well,
That's
I have the
problem.
first two. I'll probably buy that one. Although I honestly, I will tell you, I think the money to miniature ratio is terrible, and that you get like 10 miniatures for $80. But
I agree with that.
What did they call it?
I love the format.
If you go on Google or Amazon, Rob, and you type in, what the hell was it called? Original. Let me find it.
All right. So Mike, your whole point for logging in was to tell the Pathfinder by the pound story.
Oh
So-
yes. So everybody that hung around the last 2 hours for the
It's the
Pathfinder
D&D
story.
Classic Collection.
Yes.
So,
All right,
so
Mike.
let me tell you the Pathfinder by the pound story. This is 1 year at Gary Con. Eric's there, Zach's there, we're all there. So this is the year, out of nowhere, after they said they would never have another edition of Pathfinder, Paizo comes up and says, oh, by the way, we're going to do Pathfinder 2.0. Now, I'll tell you the problem with this is Frog God Games, we had licensed Pathfinder modules. We worked months and months ahead of time. So we had all these Pathfinder 1 modules ready to come out. Some of the stuff, like Tom Canales' Tohoidal modules, it was ready to roll under Pathfinder 1. Well, once they announced Pathfinder 2, all those projects are out the door. We are out the window. We can't do them. We're going to have to take them back and rewrite the whole thing once Pathfinder 2 comes out, or just drop the Pathfinder versions because we don't have time to rewrite it. So we're pissed. So Frog God Games is pissed because these guys pulled this out of their asses and just said one day, hey, by the way, we're going to rewrite the game we said we'd never rewrite. So we're fuming and we're sitting here in this gigantic, just literally gigantic piles of Pathfinder 1 stuff that once the new edition comes out, nobody's going to want Pathfinder 1. That's
Once the
how it goes.
announcement of the new edition came,
Yeah, once the
nobody
announcement
wanted.
came out, nobody wanted it. Nobody was buying this stuff. Nobody cared because Pathfinder 2 is going to come out, and we were at the con, Eric, where they debuted Pathfinder 2. So we're at that con. So Zach and I had this brainstorm. We bought a giant scale, and we brought all our Pathfinder shit. We're talking big, giant, heavy. I mean, all the stuff we had in the warehouse that was about to be worthless in about a month, right? And we came up with the idea of Pathfinder by the pound. So instead of just selling, $60 books, $100 books, we're selling it at whatever, $5 a pound. So these guys were so once we had to make these big signs up, Pathfinder by the pound. They're coming up and they're buying these big giant stacks, and we're weighing. I'm like, okay, you only owe us like $25. This is like $500 of books. Well, once people see people doing that, everybody wants to be part of this. Like, what? Pathfinder by the pound? This is great. So we have this giant crowd. It succeeded beyond our wildest imagination. Pathfinder by the pound.
Yep.
The people that didn't like it were Paizo, because it was we were
Devalues them
absolutely
completely.
devaluing their product.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
So what's the guy? His last name begins with B.
Bowman, Jason Bowman.
Jason Bowman came by, saw that. He sent Bill an email the next day saying we no longer have a license for Paizo material. He was so pissed off when he saw that.
Tell him to fuck himself.
Who cares? We weren't putting out any more Pathfinder after that anyway. We've never put out one single thing for Pathfinder 2. We're through with Pathfinder. So he was so mad that he yanked the license that night because
Those
he saw
assholes,
how much
they fucking made massive bank when Wizards imploded with the OGL shit, right? Everybody bought their shit. I even bought their goddamn book. I don't even play the fucking thing. I have no intention, but I just want to support them. Then I'm like, oh, Pathfinder 2 coming soon. I'm like, you fucking assholes.
Now this is now the funniest part. Here's the funniest part. There was a guy there from a major online magazine, not InWorld, but another one like that. He was doing a review of GaryCon. So he's at GaryCon walking around. He comes to our booth. He goes, oh, man, what's this? We go, this is Pathfinder by the pound. He started laughing his ass off. He was taking pictures of everything set up. He was like, man, this is great. So when his article came out last month, here was the title. The title of the article was GaryCon and Pathfinder by the Pound. That was the title of the online article. We heard through sources that Jason Bowman almost had a heart attack when he saw that. He was so effing pissed off that the centerpiece wasn't Paizo comes out with Pathfinder 2.0. It was, guess what? They're offering Pathfinder by the pound because these companies are so pissed off they have to get rid of their Pathfinder now. So it was sweet, sweet revenge for all the companies that got the rug yanked out under them by Paizo, and because they had announced they would never do a second edition. And by the way, we had almost gone to press with a couple of very expensive Pathfinder 1.0 items that we had canceled right after the announcement came out, because we would have absolutely lost our ass on Kickstarter on those. We would have Kickstarted them, probably barely funded them, and had to put out $100 books, and just took a massive loss on it. So they really pissed off a lot of publishers when they did that. So our Pathfinder by the Pound was Sweet Revenge, and it is still talked about in the halls of Gary Con and other conventions when we talk about that.
Let me ask you this: how could they handle it?
Well, first of all, Rob, your company never say you're not going to do fill in the blank eggs, because you're probably going to end up doing it. Like, I think it's funny right now, all these companies are saying we will never use AI art under any circumstances.
Yeah,
I think that is a huge mistake, because you're going to be walking back your words. And so when you come up with a rule system, never, ever, ever say we're never going to change this rule system, because you can't look that far in the future and say that. And so they got all these people to buy their books, and then they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, you're going to have to buy them all again because we lied. We lied. We are going to have a second issue. So I think that was a major mistake just right off the bat in the whole history of the product. I think another thing they should have done is they should have had a grace period. They should have approached all the people who were licensing Paizo Pathfinder products, like ourselves. There was a few other companies also, and maybe a year ahead of time, and said, look, we're thinking about doing a Pathfinder 2.0. It's not necessarily going to be compatible with 1.0. They would give people time to cancel projects, to redo projects. They could even say something like, you know what, how about, would you like to do your project for Pathfinder 2? We'll send you some rules. We'll send you some rules so you can see what Pathfinder 2 is going to... This was literally like that Christmas of that year they announced it. They announced in March they were going to have, or that next summer they were going to have Pathfinder 2.0. So in Christmas they announced that. That's 6 months. It's not enough lead time. The amount of projects we had to cancel was unbelievable, because we could not come out.
They didn't learn any lessons from the D20. So they just ignored the lessons of the D20.
Learned lessons. Where are you at, Rob?
Rob, this is the gaming industry. Nobody learns lessons for anything.
No, Rob.
They just do the same thing over and over again.
I heard rumors that they were pretty much on board with everything WotC was doing until the very end. Anyway, they kind of held out. Did I hear that right somewhere? I don't know. They were not exactly for the people. Put it that way. It's a rumor I heard. Take it with a grain of salt.
Well, they were for the people.
They've been infected by the same mind virus that WotC has.
Sure,
that's all. Look
what they did. Their employees. They took their employees. They treat them like slave labor. They stuck them in one apartment complex. And there was affordable, and said, you guys need to double and triple up on rooms. I mean, they basically had a company store. This is like North Carolina in 1890.
It's like that song. I sold my soul to the company store. Yeah.
I mean, Eric and I talked about that a couple of years ago, where they were just making these people, have sustenance wage, and meanwhile, Lisa Stevens is making bank. She's a millionaire. She's a millionaire.
She was a millionaire before she started.
Wait. Yeah. So they had a publishing house. The company Pazio. So they hired people, rented an entire building, and they not only worked there, they lived there.
So no, what they did was, Rob, so it's this very expensive place to live in Seattle, right? It's very expensive to live there. So they paid these people not very good wages to work for Paizo. People think that Paizo people made money. They did not, Rob. The only people that made money were Lisa Stevens and 2 or 3 up, the high level people. All the worker bees made nothing. They made sustenance living, but what they did was, so they said, okay, we understand that you're not making enough to actually afford an apartment in Seattle. We have a deal with this one apartment complex. I don't know if Lisa Stevens owned it or what it was, but you will be able to get rooms there for a decent price where you can still work at Paizo, but you may have to double or triple up on these apartments. Is this right, Eric? This is what they did. Yeah.
Welcome back to college, boys and girls.
So they were basically they were having these professional writers who were working for one of the biggest for a while, was selling more than D&D. I mean, they were selling more than WotC for a few years. They were making them basically work for sustenance wages and get cheapo apartments just so they can have the honor for working for Paizo.
And didn't they fucking have a shit show with the union action against them?
Oh yes, big time. Oh yeah. because this is what they were doing. Because people,
Yeah.
and there was a few people that came forward and they would rock the boat and they would get fired, or they would never really fire anybody. They kind of said after about a couple months they'd get in a big fight and they'd say, "Oh, I'm going to move on to other opportunities."
Yeah,
they never really fire anybody, but they would be told you need to leave.
Yeah.
But this is what they were doing. So they were making these people basically buy from the company store. They were saying you can't afford to live anywhere else in Seattle, work for Paizo, except you can live in these apartments here, and you might have to. It's a 3-bedroom apartment, so one of you's probably gonna have to sleep on the sofa over here. We have a fold-out sofa.
That's pretty fucked up, dude.
And thus
It's
the anti-capitalist becomes the slumlord. Yes.
You have that now. When it came to Paizo being on board or not being on board, my understanding is they were on board until they were not. Their licenses for Dragon and Dungeon were not renewed. So basically part of 4.0. Remember Gleemax?
Oh yeah.
Gleemax made
not finally, but yes.
Made a Dragon and Dungeon into digital titles that were published by WotC, brought back into the fold. Now Paizo was making their money. It wasn't so much on Dragon magazine. I think it was on Dungeon magazine. They were doing the beginning of the Adventure Pass, plus other adventures in it. And this was selling very well for them. And to continue the idea of an adventure path, they put together Pathfinder very quickly.
Yeah.
And by the way, the Dungeon Magazine Adventure Pass are very well written by some of the best in the business. Wolfgang Barr, all those guys. So I think the first one was the Beholder City and the volcano. I mean, the first, they had about 3 adventure paths. I want to say 3 or 4. They were all very well written. Now the later ones that came through Pathfinder, except for the Rise of the Rune Lords, they're kind of, the quality is very iffy in some of those. So they had a good thing going. That's why they're able to segue so quickly into the adventure path, because they've been
the
doing
funny
it
thing
Dungeon
was
magazine for years. So
I remember talking to Mona when they Paizo announced, because the whole license and all that mess, they were going to make their own RPG and it was going to be called Pathfinder. And this is the ICQ days, right? And I reached out to Mona on ICQ, and I was like, "Eric, what's up, Joe?" Blah blah blah. Because Eric is like, back in the N World days, I said who I was from like the late 90s, and Eric's like, "Oh my god, that's Joe, that's that Joe," and that was my sig for on the N World. So I'm like, I had like, "Hey Eric, this is Joe from blah blah blah," and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" I said, "Your name Pathfinder makes no sense. It's a dumb. I want you to beat the shit out of wizards. I want you to destroy them. But Pathfinder is a stupid fucking name. Please, for all that's good in the world, change it to something cool." I never knew, Mike, that they were called Adventure Pass and Dragon Magazine or Dungeon Magazine. I never read them. So now it makes kind of sense why they called it Pathfinder. I had some sort of a brand association already going,
Yeah, no, they certainly knew. But, I mean, personally, my opinion, the downfall of Paizo was when they kickstarted their computer MMO that raised $1 million, which was probably 1% of the monies that were needed to actually get a successful MMO out the door. And shortly after that MMO launched and had its slap in the face of how poor it was doing, we heard, Mike and our sources were telling us that the checks for Paizo's employees were not being written from the corporate account.
Right.
They were being written by Lisa Stevens' personal account, because Paizo as a company was in the red for a while. I couldn't tell you whether it was weeks, months, how long, but it was really a strain on the company because they thought it was going to do this amazing business. And the MMOs are kind of like miniatures on the Kickstarter. You don't want to jump into that field unless you know what you were doing, and they didn't really know what they were doing.
Yeah. I mean, the whole Pathfinder 2 fiasco. I mean, it's only they've only had a comeback in the last couple of years, right, Eric? I mean,
Yeah.
they were walking in the wilderness for about 3 or 4 years where they were not doing very well. Now they've had a comeback. They've had a comeback in the last few years. A lot of people switched to. I mean, in a lot of ways, Pathfinder 2 is really an easier game than Pathfinder 1, which I think made a lot of Pathfinder 1 fans mad at first, but I think new people come along and say, "Oh yeah, this is a lot easier to play because Pathfinder is very famous for taking forever to roll characters, and combat takes 3 hours, and it's just it's over the top.
Mathfinder, yes.
Yeah.
Pathfinder. I haven't heard
But
that
now,
before.
but now
Oh, you
they-
haven't?
now-
Oh, I've heard that at conventions. Oh yeah, I used to play Mathfinder. It's like first time I heard that, I was like, "You like what?" I'm like,
I think they've had a comeback, and they're like I said that they're appealing to the crowd that wants to play Pathfinder maybe a little easier. And you still have your old school Pathfinder 1 people that have all the books and don't want to buy books again. But
But the organized play, like they used to have a really large presence at TotalCon. The whole atrium area by the bar used to be filled from like 8 a.m. to midnight with Pathfinder games. And I guess Pathfinder 2 games technically, and at best it was 2/3 filled, and there were times when there was just like nobody there, or just pickup games happening there. So, and I was talking with staff at TotalCon, and they've noticed the same thing. That it doesn't mean there's less Pathfinder players; it means that there's less people doing the organized play or going to TotalCon.
Yeah. That means there will be less Pathfinder people in the future, though, because without the organized play, who's playing it? It's a hard thing to pick up, you know what I mean, without someone playing with you, right? Hey,
I also think this is a classic. They fell into the same fucking pit trap that WotC did. Of they were so greedy about making a new core edition that they thought that would bring in a ton of money for them, rather than continuing to support the existing chassis. And this isn't a problem just in tabletop. I mean, there's tons of video games where if they would just release another video game using the same engine, rather than invent a whole new engine for a new, even more beautiful version of whatever, I mean, think about how many Skyrims they could have made. I mean, Jesus Christ, they didn't need to upgrade the system. They could have just kept churning out games off the same chassis. The same thing, like they get this idea, oh, we have to do this. And a lot of that, I think, comes from kind of a corporate structure of you want to be the person who goes to your boss with this great idea for we're going to roll out this cool thing, and ends up being a piece of shit. And
or you wind up like GURPS, and you were once the number 4 RPG in the market, and now you're like a blip on anybody's radar. Much as I love GURPS, they stuck to the gun. The GURPS stuff they produce today is still as good, or, if depending on your point of view, as bad as it was. They kept the quality consistent. Yeah, I might have complaints about how they present things, but when it comes down to the actual stuff, except for one thing that they just an adventure they released recently that I let Sean Punch have both guns about, because it was a poorly written adventure. Anyway, that's neither here or there. Most of the time, their stuff is still the same high quality as it's been, but they were so unchanging in that they just kind of rode it down on a downward slope. And with Pathfinder, they lost the number 1 position to D&D 5e, and they stuck with 1e for 2 or 3 years. Maybe we criticized them to go in for 2e, but
Rob, we talked about this. I'm sorry, Eric, I didn't interrupt you, but I say we talked about this a lot. And the thing is, you look at it, and their sales were falling. What were they supposed to do? Because they were stuck because they had made this promise years earlier: we will never come out with another edition of Pathfinder. So they had all these people that trusted them and said, okay, no matter what's going to happen, they're going to have an edition. Yet they're losing market share, and they really need to update the game. So I mean, they were really stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well, Mike,
but on the other hand,
Rob, 1 second.
Sorry.
They gambled on Starfinder. Starfinder was supposed to be the bridge. Starfinder was supposed to be bring in the money that way we don't have to reboot the system. And Starfinder got no traction. I mean, it you can look online when they were still showing you who's playing what on Roll20 or on Fantasy Grounds, and you would see that Starfinder was this little bit.
Trivia. Trivia. Frog Guy Games had one failed Kickstarter in our entire history, and it was our Starfinder Kickstarter. And it came out right when Starfinder came out. We ran a Kickstarter. It did not fund. That is the only unfunded Kickstarter we've ever had in our history. Now, Starfinder, once again, like Pathfinder 2, has an audience now. You'll see it at conventions,
Right.
it's being played, people talk about it. But not at first. It took years to get any traction. It was absolutely a bomb at first. Absolute bomb at first.
So go ahead, Rob.
But Mike, you pointed out that in the Pathfinder 1E era, their adventure paths were starting to flag, right? It wasn't as good as the first batch.
Right.
And if you're going to try to keep an evergreen system going, then what you need to build excitement is to have quality supplemental material, and maybe keep the system. Maybe come out with a new edition, but like a book edition, not like a what we call RPG edition. Maybe the new edition is still the same system, but it's geared to a bunch of winter court, summer court, fairy stuff. That's going to be the next few adventure path, and but it's compatible. It just has a few different options, and then you build excitement around around the story, basically around what exciting thing you can do now with Pathfinder.
Well, the two best-selling adventure paths for Pathfinder were the first one, Rise of the Rune Lords, which is very good, and Kingmaker. I don't know if everybody remembers Kingmaker.
Yeah.
Kingmaker had huge, but those two are all especially Kingmaker is not like all the other Pathfinder.
That was a reaction to the OSR. They were trying to latch onto us back then. I remember they created that
it was a hex scroll. It was a hex
I even have it up there.
It wasn't bad. I mean, it was a railroady hex scroll, but it wasn't bad.
But what's shocking about it is they didn't take the success of those two and apply it to the rest of their line and say, look, this is what's selling really well. Let's do another Kingmaker type thing, because that's not how they did the Adventure Pass. What they did was they would assign an author. An author would pitch an idea. Look, I want an adventure path, because their adventure paths are what, five or six books long. I can't remember. They would pitch an adventure path, and then they would end up writing the adventure path. Maybe some other people would write it, but they would be the lead person. So these leads would go like years in advance. So like Kingmaker would come out. Well, they couldn't immediately adapt to that and say we need another Kingmaker, because they had 5 more projects in line to come out before the next Kingmaker. So if they even wanted another Kingmaker, they'd have to say, look, you need to start writing your Kingmaker, but it's not going to come out for 2 years, because we already have all these other projects, ahead of you. So that was a failure of their system in terms of they never reacted to what people thought were the most popular adventure paths. At least that's my opinion. I mean, if a hardcore Pathfinder person may have another idea, but that's what I saw. I saw that they would have some really lame Pathfinder adventure paths, and then the next one it was just variable. The next one would be okay, one would be good, this one was not good. And to this day, the most popular ones are usually the ones you see sell out or sell for high prices on eBay.
Yeah.
Because that's another issue, is that they have all these venture paths, they don't reprint them, and which I think is weird. I mean, they've reprinted.
Well, they sell the PDF.
See, Mike, what you've pointed out here is the Achilles heel. The customer's opinion is important. And see, if you go to an auction and the customer says, I want that rather than that, then that's a indicator that you should make more things like what the customer wants.
This is marketing 101, Greg.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I say they're just like WotC. They don't actually seem to give a shit what the what the customer wants.
Yeah.
Well, with a caveat, you have to really analyze why Kingmaker was popular, why Runes of the Lord, Rise of the Rune Lord, it was
First
popular.
Have to care.
Otherwise, you'll get, Jason Part 1, Jason Part 2, Jason Part 3, and soon you know that you're Jason Redux Part 2.5 or
Pretty
10
soon
and a
your
half.
Jason bank account is really fucking huge. Just like your Rocky bank account is huge and your Star Wars bank account is huge. I mean, like, you can build a huge bank account by giving customers what they want. And when you stop doing that is when you turn your franchise into a mountain of shit. That's exactly what they're
franchise
doing.
that did it right were I don't like Fast and the Furious, but I got to admit they faltered there with the first two sequels, but then they figured it out, and they had ups and downs, but the whole franchise became a moneymaker.
Well,
and
they figured out what nobody knew, Rob. Nobody knew that men liked cars, violence, and sex. I mean, it was a mystery. And then they were like, I can't believe it. Let's make movies with cars, violence, and sex in it.
They all
falling from the
all
sky.
the sequels have cars, violence, and sex. It's just that the first two sequels, or maybe with just the second one or the first sequel, but it sucked. And everybody, and when you go to when I read an article on the history of the Fast and Furious, everybody's in agreement. The first sequel sucked.
You've read an article on the history of the Fast and Furious, you weirdo.
Cool.
What the fuck? Who the hell does that, Rob?
That's awesome, man. Nice.
I agree. It's just weird.
But the one I do enjoy is the Mission Impossible series, and the fourth and the fifth and the recent couple have been way better than the first two sequels, and they figured it out, and now James Bond has it up and down, but James Bond is good at figuring out, it. Although James Bond doesn't really have much in the way of continuity, so.
Well, the thing about the Fast and Furious is that once they, like you said, the first few sequels are terrible, but then they kind of became Mission Impossible on wheels, and that for some reason that formula just blew up. Everybody loved Mission Impossible on wheels, and the same thing with Mission Impossible. Once they got past, because you're right, because I'm a big Mission Impossible series fan. The first one's great, next two are just terrible. They hit on Tom Cruise for being a lunatic. He is very attuned to what people want.
Great show.
And so and Tom figured out this is what people don't want, this and this. They want this. And once he hit on that formula, boom! Every Mission Impossible since 4 has been great. It's been really good. And
I haven't.
They're all different. They're all good in different ways. And even though they still have the same secret spy. Super spy stuff going on.
So I have a question for all of you, because I always have the same list of questions when Bad Mike is here. It's time for D&D Trivia Pursuit, baby.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's on. It's on.
Here we go.
All right.
So I guess next time we'll do the review original manuscript. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. What adventure are you playing if you are confronting Vega Pygmies and perhaps a Froggamoth?
Yes, S3. Expeditionary page.
No, I got the cover. I win.
Rob just came, boys and girls. What was that, Rob?
He did. That sounded like
I don't have to say it. I can show it.
Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. It is.
There you go.
All right. Here you go. Okay. A demi-lich can be restored to a lich by supplying what to its phylactery?
Urine?
That's not in Tomb of Horrors.
Oh, no, it's not.
Supplying
dust,
some kind of dust, semen. Yuck.
A soul.
I like Eric's answer better. I'm going to put that in my module. Is that all right?
I could have said
our president, Lorraine Bitch Williams, was born into a family that owned the rights to what sci-fi character? Oh, yes. All right. Easy one for the audience. If you, nobody can answer on this panel but the audience. If you cannot answer this in the audience, you must leave the channel. What dungeon are you exploring if you come upon the green devil face? Come on, audience. Give me the answer. If you don't have the answer, you're banned from audiencehood forever.
I'm not helping anybody. I'm really not helping.
Come on. Not at all, Rob. Not at all.
Is it a tomb?
Oh, you sons of bitches! Y'all.
Hold on a second.
I'm not helping.
Anybody?
I'm not helping.
Hold on.
Anybody.
Oh, the Ike of Antioch gets it out of nowhere. Oh, Pete. So does Pete. All right.
Elk.
All right.
Of Antioch.
I've got that green.
Oh, elk. Okay, I'm sorry.
Learn to
on
read,
a CD.
The problem is I got my glasses on to read these tiny font on these fucking cards, and I can't see my screen anymore because of these fucking reading glasses. The World of the Greyhawk campaign setting is located on what planet? Easy one.
Or
Yeah, nobody can.
O-E-R-T-H.
O-E-R-T-H. Yep. All right. What is the term for a fallen paladin that has died and arisen as an evil undead creature?
Anti-paladin? No.
Blackguard.
No, not yet. Nobody gets this. Come on,
No.
Come on, chat. You got this.
Death
You're smarter than all of us.
Death Knight.
Yes, Death Knight.
Death Knight.
Death Knight.
I've used it before. I knew I'd use one.
But what book did it appear in?
Fiend
I don't
Folio.
know. Probably Fiend Folio. It sounds like a Fiend Folio.
It is
kind
a
of thing.
Fiend Folio.
What year did the Saturday morning D&D animated series premiere?
Oh, geez.
1982.
No. I was still. It was still on
86?
when I was working retail. Holy shit!
Come on.
When was
Come
it
on,
there?
you got it, Eric.
It's not 84?
85?
83. And it competed with.
Oh shit! Yeah,
It competed with in the same time slot on a different network. There's only 3 back then. It competed with the Smurfs. Who knew?
I was born in 81, so that was 2.
Oh dear.
It was babysitting you.
What material component is required to cast the spell Water Breathing? Oh, this is a good
Raw.
one.
Fish nuts.
would say, Eric?
Straw.
Yep. Breath weapon of a dragon turtle.
I like Greg better.
I kind of do too.
Steam. It's steam, right? It's hot steam.
Hot steam breath. It is steam breath. Yes, you are correct, sir. All right.
It's hot.
Let's see. Who is the character Drawmage in Greyhawk named after?
Jim Ward.
Boom.
It's
boom,
Jim Ward
boom,
backwards,
boom.
yeah.
Okay. Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
I tell you why I remembered it.
You'll be impressed when you spell your name backwards. Sometimes it comes out with a really cool character name. But in case of Tim, it does not, because I don't think he wants a character named Stroh's Knit. Sounds like a beer.
Yeah, kind of a bad beer too.
It turns out my name spelled backwards I think it makes a pretty good character name. Yelnock Trebor.
We have yet to encounter him as a PC in any campaign, as far as I know.
I can't spell Joe's name backwards because it will reveal his secret identity.
Oh, yes. Smith backwards is very hard. I know. All right. What convention founded by Avalon Hill in 1975 rivaled Gen Con for the status of the premier national wargaming convention?
Origins?
Wait, hold on.
Anyone else? Who?
Read that question again.
Oh, Mike stumped. What convention founded by Avalon Hill in 75 rivaled Gen Con for the status of the premier national wargaming convention?
Origins, right?
Origins it is. Yeah. Origins it is.
I thought you said 85.
Right.
I was like, well, that didn't make sense. 75. Okay.
Okay. All right. Dwarves and elves are examples of character classes in 1981 basic D&D. True or false?
Basic?
1981 basic.
It's characters as class or races class. Yeah.
True. All right. Who is the druid? Oh, here's a good one. We were all talking Hamlet before. Let's see who knows Hamlet for real. Who is the druid of the Grove in the village of Hamlet? Both first and last name.
Initials are J.A.
First and last.
Jarga.
Jar Jar?
By the way, his character. This is Tim Cass's character, by the way.
Was it? Okay. Who knows the name of it, though? Rob doesn't, apparently.
I can't pronounce it. Jero.
Did you Google that motherfucker?
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
50 XP penalty, Rob. I know you Googled that shit.
Oh, I looked in the chat.
You cheater, mother,fucker. 50 XP in next game, man. That's some bullshit right there.
Yeah, that was Tim Cass's personal character in the Hamlet. So.
All right. In what? Oh, that's too easy. All right, let me skip to the next one. That was it. Every question. Sometimes they're just way too stupid. What? The Invisible Stalker is a transformation of which type of elemental?
Ooh.
Air. They're elemental.
Eric?
Yeah, it's got to be, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
Who co-founded TSR with Gary in partnership?
Oh, that was his buddy.
Boom.
No, before that, the guy he passed away. What
Oh God!
Milf Biggins.
Oh my God, I can't believe this is one of those.
And I read it in the damn book. John Peterson. Why can't I remember your book, Davey?
I love watching his elder moments live on camera. K.
Before the Blooms.
Don K.
Don King, yes.
Yeah, and
Yep,
matter of fact,
yep.
he died. He died soon after TSR, right before they started making a lot of money, which is kind of sad. And that was the reason that the Blooms were brought on board. So that's really the beginning of the end of D&D was Don K's death.
His widow did not want to deal with TSR, and she had to be bought out.
Yeah, should be bought out. Gary didn't have the money. He needed a partner. He got Bloom, and then Bloom brought his dad in, and the rest is unfortunately history. They ran the company into the ground, so didn't know what they were doing.
All right. Whose name does the cryptic black scarab bearing the letters TZGY in the village of Hamlet hint at?
Oh,
man, there's another one. IGGILW? Did I spell it right?
That's Igglewilf. That's incorrect, Rob.
Oh, Duckmoy.
Yes, Duckmoy. You got it.
Well, that's
right.
John Miller. John Miller gets that one.
Okay, John. Helping Rob cheat, as always. You're penalized 50 XP as well.
Good job.
All right. That's a dumb card. Sometimes the cards have all stupid fucking things. Which mysterious monolith is known as the Enigma of Greyhawk? I don't know this one.
What?
The Great Stone Face.
Whoa! You got your XP back, Rob. That was a hard one. I'd never heard of that. Where's that from?
There's an illustration either in the original or in Greyhawk supplement.
Okay. In Dragonlance, which Kender was an avid collector of maps and joined the companions after borrowing a bracelet from Flint Fireforge?
Oh,
come on. You know this. You know this.
Barefoot.
Little fucker.
Yes.
Little fucker.
God. Okay. So LARP. Hear that? Everybody can watch that. So the problem with our LARP was
what?
The problem with our LARP was we didn't have.
Oh no!
Nobody.
It's a Rob tangent. Just roll with it, man. Just roll with it.
In the 90s, nobody wanted to play a halfling. Everybody played fucking Kenders. So we had a half a dozen players all role-playing variants of Tasselhoff Barefoot. As madding as that character is in the book, you have no idea how madding that character is in that live action.
Can you punch people in live action? Because I think I would have punched a few people. Because you're right. That was kind of the flavor of the day for a while. I probably wanted to be a Kender because you could basically be a chaotic halfling, right? That was the whole point.
Right, yeah, basically you could be a dick.
Yeah, you could be absolute dick. Because you're just, I'm not stealing this. I'm just borrowing it to look at it and keep it safe for you. Yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna shove the sword down your throat because we don't steal from party.
You can't. I'm just role playing my character.
No, I'm just a Kender. I'm just a Kender. Yeah, you're dead. Fucking don't steal from the party, bitch.
I asked this question on social media recently and got no convincing answer. Other than Kender, what is like a really unique thing about Dragonlance compared to just generic fantasy shit?
The moons and the magic user spells were pretty cool. The
three orders of magic.
I liked that. I really enjoyed that.
And they had little tweaks with the elves and the even the dragon riding and the Knights of Salama. That was pretty cool.
They were the most stereotypical of Night Orders, though, Rob.
Personally, I like the Gully Dwarves because, you know what? It was like you took gnomes and you took any kind of intelligence away from them, and you made them into Gully Dwarves.
They were kind of neat. They were funny. Yeah, they were good to fuck with groups with, you know.
Oh yeah.
By the way, that was another cliche during that time was that anybody that had to play a gnome character wanted to play a Dragonlance gnome because they were these great engineers and think of these crazy projects, and I hated
Tinker
that.
gnome.
I thought that was
Yeah.
I thought that was terrible. I thought it was awful.
But that's what started That's what started gnomes being tinkerers of devices. Before that, they were more like garden gnome types.
Right?
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
They
that
were just
started
kind of.
them.
They really had no personality, to be honest.
None,
with you. And then
none.
the
They were
Tinker
like
Gnome's
halfway
oh,
between
yeah,
a dwarf
They
and
were
a half.
dwarf light, you know.
They were
like,
they're halfling dwarf fucked, and here goes a gnome. That's all they were, you know.
Hey, listen, you don't live in the mountains, you live in the hills. Oh, I
Yeah.
must be a
Yeah,
gnome.
yeah. You got
So,
a big
Eric,
nose. You look weird.
Since we're getting close to closing time, I have a
Yeah.
treat for everybody who's still hanging on.
Uh-oh.
Guard
Could
your
you
eyes,
zoom in,
boys and
Ian?
32
girls.
people, believe it or not. Holy shit.
Could you
Wow.
zoom in?
Uh-oh.
On
this
what,
shit-
Rob? On what?
Okay,
Whoa,
so
that's scary.
Okay.
That's scary.
these are the two hardbacks.
Oh, there we
for
go.
my
Beautiful.
Kickstarter. I'm waiting for
Beautiful.
one of the hardbacks, or softbacks, this one. So I'm not ready to release this yet, but hopefully within the next 2 weeks it'll be shipped and I can start doing the survey. But
Nice.
And-
Nice.
for those who
That's
wanted
good.
to know how thick it would wind up, that's how thick.
How
the-
thick is it, Rob?
That's
I
what
would
she
decline
said.
to answer that question on the account that you will make fun of me.
Oh,
It's
Rob,
Rob's thick.
I've screenshotted it already, Rob. Don't worry.
I want to point out here live that I have suggested 3 times now to Rob that he needs to include a line of sports drinks with his release here. It's called Pieade. Is the
Hey.
name of the island.
Nade.
He needs to have Pieade sports drink. You know, I mean, Random Encounter Blue.
Fucking
You
Gator.
got
A trademark infringement.
gold coin yellow. I mean, there's lots of opportunities.
Gold coin yellow.
Yeah.
Pirate piss yellow. Pirate piss yellow.
I mean, hex crawl orange,
Oh,
whatever
shit.
you want to
Oh,
come
I'm gonna,
up with.
I'm gonna stomach cramp from laughing too hard.
Ogre shit brown. Yeah.
No. You're in trouble is the one.
You're in trouble. That's a good one. Yes.
Oh God. Oh Jesus Christ! Sorry, Rob. I think I picked that name too. So it's kind of my fault. The name he had wasn't that good. So
Where's
I'm like, let's
Fu-
go for a different name.
Where's Foogly? We need Foogly here so he can do some.
Yeah, it reminds me of I made a character in
visuals.
second edition, post college second edition days, and because all my brother and my buddies are busting my balls, and we all bust each other's balls about our characters' names and everything else. So I'm like, I'm gonna think. I sat for weeks and tried to figure out a character name that cannot be nowhere. Nobody can make fun of it. Came up with Kife, Kife. So I'm like, I pronounce that gladly and proudly. I have a name you cannot bust my balls about. I say the name Kife, Queef. I'm like,
Oh,
fuck,
boy.
fuck,
5 minutes.
God damn it.
You were already done. You were done 5 minutes after
Shit!
that.
There you go, Miss Gunn. You got it.
Oh no.
It is
On that
kinda-
note, on the queef note, boys and girls,
it's kind of sad that you didn't see that coming.
I was pathetic,
I
actually.
mean, I could
agree.
never have seen that the kids
I-
were going to call me Greg Pistifer. Now that was a surprise.
Oh no.
But-
But you should have seen
I should have seen queef coming. I should have seen
Queef
queef
coming. I
coming.
mean, that's too close.
Oh, God. What are you going to do? You know?
Oh, God. Well, for an RPG session,
Yeah.
where we thought it was going to be me and Rob because Joe was lagging. We didn't think we'd have Greg.
I
We
was
got
not
there,
lagging.
like-
I was at the bar I got a date with a Polish chick, so I'm not lagging, motherfucker. That works. I'll take that any day.
I was lagging for the show.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I was like, are we gonna have a quorum? But you know what? We just showed how random this night can be,
So
and
random.
the amazing results you can get. And you know what? Again, like Rob had us ready to be talking about the original D&D manuscript that was revealed. I mean, it was out there.
Yeah.
I did a video on it, and right away, Bill Susan Meinhardt reached out to me the next day and said, we've known about that one for years. It just wasn't public. It's like, and I say Bill Susan Meinhardt because Bill doesn't have a Facebook account. He just uses his wife's.
You know, that's what we should have talked. We should talk about that sometime. Is how come everybody knew about this but nobody said anything about it? What's the deal
Seriously.
with that?
Okay, wait a minute, Bad
Oh.
Mike. Is that a serious question? Because you ever hang out on the Acadian?
No, Rob. I know these guys. They come to the con. I talk to them all. I just don't get the secrecy sometimes about.
It's
we don't want
because
everybody
they
to know
can,
these
Mike.
things.
They make them feel superior and
I don't get
unique, and only we have it and you don't, kind of
Look,
shit.
I have had several great discussions with these guys over on the Acadian forum and the other collectors forum. But you're right. That secrecy stuff is like total horseshit. You know. And anytime I get my hands on something that I can share, I will share it. I'm not going to keep it to myself. Like I have the secret to D&D.
So I found this the other day. Up
hold on.
close on me. So I found this in a box of old minis I had.
Hold on a second. Does
anybody know what this is?
I gotta bail out, guys.
This is the. This is the original Demogorgon by Minifigs that came out in the 70s. This is before the Grenadier one. So
nice, dude.
I had this, and so I didn't know what it was. I took pictures of it. I put it on the Facebook AKM group. Everybody was going gaga over it. Oh my god, that's the original one that came out in the 70s. I get private emails from people.
That is the stranger thing.
Well, it turns out this is not the Grenadier one. This is before that one.
What's it worth, Mike? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I didn't know. I actually didn't know, and I had a guy say, it's worth whatever you pay for it. Then I had a few people say it's worth 100, it's worth 200, worth 300, because apparently it's really, really, really rare. Then I had a few people that contacted me and said, you shouldn't have put that on a public forum. I'm like, why? Well, why? I mean, I wanted to know what it was. Well, because if you'd have advertisement behind the scenes, you could have got some offers for it, and people would have, bought it. This and that. I said, I wanted everybody to see it. I didn't want to hide it and sell it sneakily behind people. I don't get the point. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would I hide this?
What would be the purpose for them other than to inflate prices artificially because of rarity?
There's some people. Well, I've actually sold rare stuff to people before too that don't want their identities revealed. That they'll say, "I'm buying this from you, but I don't want anybody to know I'm buying it from you," which is fine. If they want that. I just don't get it. I mean, I've had people that buy under different names when they buy online from me. Except this guy's Bob, but he buys from me under the name Ed because he doesn't want any of the other collectors to know that Bob is actually buying this stuff. So he buys it under the name Ed. And I have two people like that. They will buy stuff from me in auctions, and they have fake names. And they'll just, I don't get it. I know. What are you protecting yourself or hiding from? I don't understand. But they have their reasons. Some people have reasons, so whatever.
So I was watching the first season of Stranger Things, and I saw them put that Demogorgon figure in the middle of the table, and I went, "That's really familiar." And a year ago, somebody sold me a shoebox, a little shoebox full of old Ralph Partha and Grenadier minis, and I thought, "Wait a minute!" And I went and dug out that shoebox because I didn't sort it into where I normally keep my miniatures, and sure enough, I had it.
Nice.
Yeah, there it is. That's the Grenadier one. The one that Rob has is all one piece. It's a Grenadier. This is actually two pieces. The tail's separate, but that's the more famous, well-known figure because of Stranger Things. That's the Grenadier one. Now, did you know, Rob? They've reprinted that since then because of the popularity of the Stranger Things show. Those went up. Those were going for $100 a piece on eBay after Stranger Things, but then the company that owns the rights to, who I can't remember now, they got on board of a good thing and they started reprinting it. So it's actually been reprinted now. Yeah, and they drove the price down, which was good because people were profiting off of it. But they drove the price down.
Out of everything here, the only thing that I have kind of kept really close tabs on is and I didn't realize it at the time, but I bought that.
Oh, Dune.
Okay, hold on. Keep that up there, Rob.
Hold on. Let me give.
Oh.
All right.
They only printed.
Hold on. And now I got to get.
Yep.
I found mine too.
How much are these up to now?
They go to about $400. I think they're $400. Yeah, they go for, because it was only printed in Gen Con that year. Only printed. Never. Last Unicorn Games had a very short license on that. And it's a beautiful book. It's a very beautiful book.
I still have mine in mint condition.
Yep, mine was. I pulled mine out because I thought there's no point in having this around. I might as well. I'm gonna look it up right now. Yeah, I had one years earlier. There's one guy. Oh, he wants $600. He ain't gonna get $600. Let's see. What are they selling for? Selling for is what I care about, not what they are.
Speaking of Dune, guys, as you pull this up, fuck
About
you,
the- about for-
Instagram. Fuck you, Instagram algorithm. Fuck you, because you got me for like $37 for that fucking shirt.
Oh, there you go.
It was bad. I had to buy it. And
That is as good as the Cthulhu for President one.
I agree. Maudib for 20. I agree.
So they're going about $300 for those, Rob. So you can get a quick $300 for that if you wanted to.
Wow.
I wonder if it's going to go up a little bit after the.
I think
I was like, I'm going to fucking North Texas RPG Con after all this year, motherfucker.
We'd love Rob to come. If Rob wants to come someday, We'll see about you getting you to be a special guest. I know someone. Oh wait, I am that person.
We already talked about.
I know
well,
me.
you weren't there, but we talked about 2025. If my Into the Majestic Fantasy Realm Kickstarter does as well as my How to Make a Fantasy Sandbox, then I'm going to try to make it in 2025.
Okay, listen.
Rob,
if you,
it's all about
when
the
you can
editing,
make
though.
it, let me know, and you will be a special guest. Now that doesn't. Really
When
mean
is
anything.
when is the planning date? When's the date that you should start planning to go to North Dakota? December, November?
I would start playing the year before because as of this year, we're down to we only have about less than 100 tickets left.
Wow.
And when we only sell 500 tickets beforehand. So what is it, March? So I'd start planning in like December or January of
But you can get
next year to
the
go.
discounted tickets are when, Mike?
The discounted tickets usually August, September. I would buy it because the great thing about tickets in North Texas is we'll roll it over the next year if you can't make it. If you buy a ticket and can't make it, we roll it over the next year. Gary Con does not do that. A lot of conventions will not roll over tickets. So we roll over tickets. So I would look into buying a ticket in August, and then I would definitely sign up for games as quick as you can because we sell out.
Sign up for games.
We'll
I'll
sell
be
out
running
this
them.
year by the end.
Rob, I mean, you
March.
saw that guy I played in his game,
We're sold out.
he had your map.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was cool, and I appreciate
Rob,
you sharing it.
let me know.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
If you can come, we will make you a special guest. Just let me, you need to, but let us know. If you can make it, you're a special guest.
You got a lot of fans there, Rob. I mean, that guy who ran.
Unlike Eric, yeah. Eric's not a special guest. Joe's not one. Joe's not a special guest.
I'm not a special guest. I'm just a dude.
But Rob Conley would be. Rob Conley would definitely be.
Yeah.
I'm just special. That's okay. They announced me officially for Paige
I know.
today.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw you and Paige.
Special guest.
Yeah.
Nice. Look at. Oh, that
Paige
was fun.
Whoa! What happened there?
I don't know. It's still fireworks going on behind me, apparently.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I
Hey,
remember.
is that the Philadelphia one?
Eric's house burns down. Yeah.
So, wow. All right.
What date is that one?
That is January. I forget which.
By the way, John, that's a terrible show right there. That would be an awful show. The past would be fun. The present and the future, I don't want to talk about. Ugh. The present's great. Or the past is great. The problem with Frog Out Games Future is we until this year is over, we don't know, and we find out what the hell WotC is doing with the D&D license. We have no clue what we're doing.
Why, Mike? Why does what they're doing affect you, Mike?
Because we specialize in doing third party. Like right now, we're doing a lot of OSC stuff. We specialize in doing third party product lines. For a long time, we did Pathfinder. Obviously, we did Swords of Wizardry. We've done 5e. Right now, there's nothing. We can't do 5e now because we don't know what 5e is going to look like in a year. So we're just we're doing OSC because OSC is a pretty good. They have a good fan base and they have a good audience, but you can't really do 5e right now. You don't know what 5e is going to do, and if their version of 5e is completely different than anything we've seen before, then we've just made a module that's instantly obsolete. It's not going to be played anywhere because it doesn't match up to 5e. So, yeah,
You
until
mean
they
you're
figure
not
out what
going
the
to
hell
do
they're
the
doing.
same thing as Cobalt Press and the other guys? You're not going to raise your undead flag? And
There's enough, Rob. We talked about this in company. we're probably going to put out Bill Webb's personal rules how he plays, but it's not going to be a house style. It's just going to be, look, this is the rules that Bill Webb uses, and he's got some really good ideas in there, so we'll probably put that out. But no, we don't. There's so many retro clones out right now, Rob. I don't know how you can do. I know Dragon Slayer looks great, and I've seen it. It looks awesome. But after Dragon Slayer, I just don't see a lot of future in stuff like that. I mean, Shadow Dark is awesome, but Shadow Dark.
I guarantee you, before Greg Gillespie put out Dragon Slayer, you would be saying the exact same thing, and then you would have saw Dragon Slayer and go, oh, okay. You don't know what your contribution.
Ask Greg how much. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I don't know that there's a lot of great these ideas that Greg has. These aren't new ideas. These are stuff that goes all the way back to Barrel Maze 10 years ago. He didn't just write this last year. This is accumulation of stuff he's been writing for years and years. So I don't know what we could come out with right now that would take the world by storm so incredibly that it'd be like, yeah, this is. I gotta have Necromancer Games' version of games. I don't want to play.
I don't. My side of publishing is not I know it's not the same as yours, but the main emphasis is to take my personal rules, the Majestic Fantasy rules, to the point where I can publish them. Was as good as the relationship I had with Matt Finch. He can't sell me the core books of Swords and Wizardry below X, and I can't make a profit at that level. The only way that I can go to have all the opportunities that I want, which are quite modest, mind you, but sometimes there are times when I want to put my stuff in a store, I need a core book with it. And the only way I can afford to put the core book in there is to have my own take on Swords and Wizardry. So rather than, I put it was my own take, not a copy of Matt Finch's stuff, even though I kept it compatible as reasonably possible. So the only time that I think for you guys that a core book of your own would make sense is that so you can put that in the game stores along with the Fraud God stuff that you really are interested in.
Absolutely talked about that quite a bit, Rob, because you're absolutely right. And that's what happens to a lot of companies is when you don't have your own core rule book, you're relying, like we are now, on having to wait around and see what WotC's going to do before you can do anything. And that sucks because, WotC's destroyed their brand in the last year as it is. So,
and when you're operating, I don't know if it's reflected on what you guys do when you operate at my level. It doesn't save me any time to write for D&D 5e. There's so much 5e stuff that I still
but
have.
You have a built-in audience. But Rob, you have a built-in audience to 5e.
But that audience was earned. I had to earn that audience in the first place.
Boys and girls, I have the ultimate. We're half hour over time. Ender.
Okay.
Here it is. Here it is. Right now. Look at my picture. Boom. All right, boys and girls. Let us. I know that nobody can stand to look at that picture for very long. So the show is over.
Thank you for hurting.
James is a sexist. He's a sexy beast, man. James.
I knew that would cause it to come to a screeching halt.
James.
You're welcome, Eric. By the way, Eric's got a piss.
We already gave the closing speech like 10 minutes.
I know. Then I may ask the question. That was the end of that.
No. I know. So listen, folks. There's a live stream tomorrow night with Rich and I at Gamers House at 8 p.m. I'm sure there's going to be more random ass videos coming out throughout the rest of the week. Next week, Mike and I should have a special guest. I told him to pencil us in, but I didn't tell him that actually we would. I had to confer with Mike to make sure we had a spot.
Who is this? Who's this mysterious person?
Oh God, what's the? I want to say I got the wrong. I can't remember the damn name of the.
He's got
Neon Lord.
I can't remember.
Neon Lord.
Oh yeah.
Neon Lord's with the toxic way.
Oh yes, yeah. Which is
Toxic
I
Wasteland.
read the rules. Awesome.
We're gonna have the main man there, and I'm gonna ask questions about like Goodman Games as best I can because he sells Goodman Games stuff. That
tread carefully.
No, only because I got the $10 paperback of GCC.
Nice.
I mean, that's
a pick up the humble bundle.
I just want to ask something like that. How other people can.
Look at Ty Beard checking in at 9:30.
Yeah, I know. Ty's like he's got a couple whiskeys in him. He's sitting back, like, "Hey, here we are. I just arrived." Like a badass,
Ty, can you hear this, Ty? I'm going to turn it up for you because this is a lazy ass, ass thing ever.
This is after hours.
We should be on. We should be on elsewhere. I can't believe that.
Listen, if I was driving home from the Poconos, my bladder right now would be like.
Ty, this is for you, baby, right there. There you go. That's for you, Ty. All right, so there. That's for showing up fucking late, motherfucker. You owe me a drink next time I hit. That's it. Actually, it was funny because I walk. It reminds me of Raji because Raji and I got stuck at a barbecue place in Texas at last year, and we couldn't get a fucking Uber. And we like 3 Ubers came, and like they wouldn't fucking come. We finally got an Uber. We're all stressed. And it was the tiniest Uber ever made. Me and Raji are not small individuals. All right, and we also had Courtney Campbell with us and Raji's girlfriend. It was a tight fucking space. So we get out. We're fucking stressed. I walk in. Ty Beard walks up to us. Hey, Joe, how you doing? Hey, Ty, this is James Raji. So that's why I remember Ty with Raji. So there you go, Ty, an image of Raji you've never seen before. That was a North Texas true story there.
There you go. What have I done to make you treat me so disrespectfully? All right, folks. We could keep this going. But you know what? I don't know where you're going to go, but you can't stay here. All right?
I think that's the first time you ever said that.
I know.
In that way.
Yeah, well, it's kind of. I feel like I'm throwing
Eric's
people out of the bar.
Get the fuck out! I gotta piss, you assholes! Please come on the show.
It's like it's 4:30 in the morning. Why the fuck would you people go home? We're not even serving alcohol anymore. But I got lots of drinks stacked up at the bar because I knew you were gonna close. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Hopefully we'll see you there.
Dead fish smell. I agree, Elk. I agree.
Raiders.